Okay, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Wano Report, episode 24. And you asked for it, and he's finally here. It's Morj.
I don't know where I'm at right now. Oh, hey, Ohara, how are you doing?
Hey, Tekking, how you doing, man? It's great.
I'm pretty good. I won $20 because the Chiefs won tonight. I'm feeling good.
Perfect. Yeah, Super Bowl was tonight. That is very true. And great timing, I think, right? Like, chapter's out officially. Super Bowl, chill night. I mean, for me, yeah. For me, not chill night. It's more like morning, kind of, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, it's great to have you on. I know a lot of the people out there have been constantly asking about you. We're like, oh, like, other guests are cool, but where's Tekking? I'm like, okay.
Hi.
Here he is.
I'm flattered. Thank you.
We like drove all the way up to his house and like snitched him out of the window just to bring him to the podcast.
Yeah. Scenic western middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Lovely place.
Took some time. Google Maps was not very accurate. Also, of course, my wonderful co-host, Mr. Morj, as always.
What's going on, everyone?
Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, and so today we're gonna talk about maybe the most divisive chapter of Wano so far.
Certainly of the flashback.
At least for the flashback. I really can't wait to talk to you guys about it. I actually am not sure what your thoughts are, because I mean, this is basically just after you uploaded your review a couple of hours ago, so I didn't have the chance to watch that. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I know that Morj didn't like it, and I loved it, so I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah, what's your first impression of the chapter?
It was a massive mixed bag for me. See, it's like, okay, I'm like, the flashback is winding down. We're probably going to go back to the present in the next chapter or so. So I'm like, okay, maybe Oda did not want to put a big multi-chapter battle and then immediately cut back to another multi-chapter battle with, like, the Straw Hats. I'm like, I can understand that. So we just got the Cliff Notes version of Odin's fight with Kaido. So, all right, that's, I guess, okay. But then the way that Kaido beat Odin was like, it makes sense in the context of the story. It's just I wanted to see more of the fight. I guess that's what it basically comes down to, you know.
So you expected a bit. So you weren't super disappointed, but you were also like, okay, could have been better, could have been worse, kind of.
Yeah, that's probably my best way of looking at it. Yeah.
Right. What's your take, Morj? What do you think?
So I talked a little bit about this, or a bunch about this, I guess, on Mugiwara Matt B's stream. You guys can go check out his channel if you like. That's
yeah. Shout out to Matt.
Yep, shout out to him. He'll be hosting the next Reverie. So, I didn't like it for several reasons. And I think I already... so last chapter, for example, 969, I talked to you about it in the Wano Report. I didn't like that chapter too much, or I was mixed on it. I'd say I was mixed on it because I like the concept, but the idea of, you know, what Oda did with Odin's character, the kind of crucible that he made him go through, or like the degradation or whatever. I like that idea of making Odin go through that before finally coming back to, you know, wanting vengeance on Kaido, but like with much more weight behind it. I like the idea of it, but I didn't like the execution and the fact that it was so fast. Right? It felt very, very fast. It felt like Odin at the start of the chapter looped back to where he was at the start of the chapter by the end of the chapter. So it felt like it went through that whole concept very quickly. So I didn't like that, but I like the concept of it. So I didn't view it as a bad chapter at the end of the day. I viewed it as a mixed to not super happy about it chapter, but I wouldn't say it was like bad in my mind. This chapter, I really, really did not like, both in terms of the content of what happened in it and in terms of how it was done. So I'm still trying to figure out, basically... Okay, I'll say this first. This is for me personally. I can understand maybe people don't feel the same way, but for me, seeing Kaido... not just Kaido being kind of beaten, but at the very least, the fact that it seemed like he had to be saved. Whether or not you want to argue like Kaido could have won that fight himself or not, maybe he could have or whatever, but seeing him like that, and even just from his speech to Odin, the implication I guess I took away from that was that Kaido seemed like he didn't feel confident in himself and his ability to take Odin. It felt like he had to resort to trickery or cheating or whatever. To me, it took away a lot of what most readers' impression was of Kaido up to that point, and I had really enjoyed the sort of feeling that Kaido was just this monstrous force of nature up till that point. And I'd say I personally, at least from pre-time skip and stuff like that, I really like when Oda builds up villains like Arlong or a Crocodile or a Lucci, villains like that who feel as though they're this maximum threat in the arc who it takes Luffy at the very end of the day to take down, and they're not really, they feel somewhat untouchable practically until Luffy finally is able to break through and do what nobody else could. I really like that sense. It made Crocodile feel like such a threat throughout that arc, Lucci throughout Enies Lobby, etc., etc. Doflamingo, this is really minor, but the fact that Fujitora was clearly above him throughout Dressrosa, I wouldn't say it took away from Doflamingo from me, but it did feel as though there are guys outside of Luffy who could take care of this threat if necessary, whatever. It took slightly away from me. So, Kaido, for example, who's had so much hype in the story up till now, seeing him like this so early on, it does take away a little bit of the weight for me in the current storyline. I'm not as... And you can see on Twitter and reactions and stuff, people are now saying, like, Lido... people saying Kaido, there's no way Kaido's the strongest and stuff like that. And whether or not those are logical takes, the fact is that Oda has done something that has shifted people's perception of Kaido to feel less impressed with the character, and I don't think that that was a good move. But maybe that's more personal. The main thing, I guess, is that it was so rushed. All right, it felt very, very fast to me because Oda had hyped it up as this legendary hour, and I'm not asking for like 3 chapters or whatever. I totally get we don't get the full thing. But to me, it did just feel like, why? I don't know. I didn't get why the chapter can't feel epic to me if it's happening so quickly. Because one moment they're talking to Kaido, then the next they're a battle is being narrated to go on. Then we get 2 panels of interaction between them. I didn't feel that much. The Momonosake thing happened very quickly to me. Overall, it just felt very quick. Like the legendary hour started and stopped quite abruptly.
The thing I've heard, at least some people on my channel were talking about this because this was kind of such a lackluster moment. That wasn't the legendary hour they were talking about. It was actually more of the execution.
Breakout?
It might be that, yeah, instead.
Yeah,
maybe.
I hope, I really hope, because that wasn't, yeah.
From the narration, I got the sense that it was the Scabbards assembling with Odin to go off to battle.
That's what I figured. That's what a lot of people figured too.
But, you know, I guess we would see. And I guess the last thing I would say is just I'm still struggling to understand. I thought at some point through, I'm trying to figure out the meaning behind Odin's story and why it's important to the current day. So for the longest time, I felt that, you know, Odin and his 9 Scabbards in some way parallel Luffy and the 9 Straw Hats as is. And I figured that their conflict with Kaido would in some way parallel what's going on in the modern day. And that we would get some sort of takeaway from how Odin failed against Kaido. And that would give us some context for the current day story.
What Luffy has to make better, kind of?
I don't even know if it had to be what Luffy has to do better. Maybe it's what Luffy has to emulate. Maybe it's what Luffy... Like, I just feel like, what is the point of the story besides giving us context? So I'm still struggling to figure that out. Maybe that's yet to be revealed, or maybe it's just not going to be there, in which case I wouldn't be very happy with this backstory. But that's my full thoughts. Ohara, sorry, I took a long time.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Yeah,
It's
no,
fine. Absolutely. I made like a 50-minute video. Well, this one was like 40, but still, yeah.
Oh, that's like short.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate you explaining, because I mean, it's like when I say I enjoyed the chapter, I definitely see where people who are criticizing it are coming from. For me, it's, I guess, also as for you, like more from a personal perspective, and maybe a bit more optimistic also, I'd say, in some way or form. So my first impression was I read the chapter and I thought like, oh, people must be really happy with it, because my personal impression was, because I was maybe more afraid Oda would actually like show the entire conflict in like in like 2 pages or 4 pages, and then it'll all already go on. So I was already happy that this was actually an entire chapter focused on one event, which was already more than I kind of hoped for. So that was nice. I mean, the art in this chapter again was really breathtaking for me. Like that's something I really felt like that's one of the big reasons I really like Wano so far. It's just you can tell how much Oda has fun drawing all that stuff. So that's really great. As for the story, I definitely see where you're coming from, and I see the perspective of saying, okay, well, Kaido is definitely not as hype as we thought. So now, basically going into the climax of Wano, like it takes away from the challenge and everything. I see their perspective, and I think I maybe under different conditions of my own expectations, I would have seen it the same way. But for me, I rather thought it was really, really cool that Kaido was not this tank That's basically, oh, I'm drunk and I hit things, kind of, and like when I hit them, they usually die.
Yeah. That's what
Like,
happens most of the time, probably.
Exactly, which probably is true for most people. But like, I actually enjoyed the fact that Kaido is a guy, like, he knows his stuff. Like, he's interested in the Void Century. He wants to get that probably out of Odin. We know that he's interested. Like, he's in Wano for a reason. He wants to probably become Pirate King for some reason. He actually thinks about stuff. Like, he met Odin in the fields. He actually has like his spy inside Odin's troop. So I like the concept that Kaido is not just this drunk guy who's just for some reason too strong and like doesn't know what to do with his life because he suffered through too much. I like that concept personally. I understand why you maybe wouldn't like it, but to me it kind of had like it humanized him in a bit, and maybe some people took that in the other direction, but like for me that was a cool thing because I feel now that there's a lot more to explore with this character.
I would definitely love to see more character development from Kaido, not to just make him like, I'm the big muscular guy that hits things really hard, which we've all seen a lot in anime, quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see where it goes. I mean, Oda could always like, well, this was 20 years ago, so Kaido might be stronger now.
I definitely see it that way.
Or you could look at it the opposite way, like he was in his, like, I think right now Kaido's like in his 50s, so maybe he's like in his 30s at this point, so he was maybe stronger. I don't know. But, yeah, it was not what I was expecting. Absolutely
also,
not. Yeah.
It's not what I was expecting either. But I think, in my opinion, like for me personally, it benefited Kaido in the sense that I'm now looking like, and now I'm expecting a lot more personality from him than I maybe dared to believe beforehand. And on the other side, I feel it doesn't take as much away from Kaido as it adds to Odin. Like maybe that's the central perspective difference we have.
Yeah, like there was some people saying about Kaido, like, I can't believe he won that way with that trick. And I'm like, well, he's in league with Orochi and he is a pirate. I mean, that I don't really think him doing an underhanded tactic is beneath Kaido.
Exactly. And like, yeah, and I mean, I feel like there was like people keep saying like, oh, like people never make their mind up about Odin. Sometimes they're like, oh, I can't believe he's like that weak, and now I can't believe he's so strong. But I mean, Oda made it a point in like last chapter to say he traveled with Whitebeard and Roger for several years and he has become stronger. I feel like that's something people tend to overlook. They're like, oh, Odin started as this guy who was able to cut the boar, but then like that's kind of how he stayed for like his entire life almost. I'm like, no, there's a reason. Like, obviously you get stronger when you travel around with Roger.
Obviously, I kind of hope now, looking back, they would have, because they built up Odin so freaking much before this flashback. I'm kind of hoping they would have dialed that down a little bit, just to maybe keep it, because we had such a high impression. The way they were hyping Odin up, it was like, oh yeah, Odin's going to show up and he's stronger than all these other characters and he can just one-shot Kaido. And it's like, that's the way you're hyping him up, kind of, and so...
Yeah, if you remember, like, during the reverie that we were with on the Red Force, like, for a bit we were discussing whether Odin was stronger than Whitebeard.
Oh, God, yeah, I mean, like, that was a legitimate thing. It's just like, whoa, what's he going to do, right?
But I would say this, so basically, I agree with aspects of everything both you guys said. To me, there's a difference between, like, the idea that, yes, more is being added to Kaido's personality, which I do like. I definitely like that aspect. But I'm saying that adding more to his personality, but at the same time, that can be separate from the moment where he had to be saved. Because I think no matter how you spin it, I think at least for a lot of people, seeing a villain who up till now felt like this force of nature, and a lot of the excitement of him came from that sense that he is this, like, physical freak or this monster. Like, if you remember the moment that he one-shotted Luffy, I definitely feel that he felt more intimidating as a villain at that point than he does after this chapter. So you can add more to his personality without doing that. The other thing I would say real quick is that it's not as much about the power scaling aspect of it. I totally get that Kaido could be stronger 20 years today than he was before. I totally get that Odin was hyped up to be a very strong force. Like, I don't care as much how strong Odin was or how strong Kaido is today versus back then and stuff. For me, it's the fact that we saw the villain of the arc in a very vulnerable and weak position when he already felt like a very strong force in the arc so far. It's the same way that Lucci would lose a bit of his
bite
presence in Enies Lobby if we already saw him humbled and weak well before Luffy got to him. Same way with Crocodile, same way with Arlong. Like, I'm okay with that stuff happening after the climax of the arc, but to me, a lot of the fact is that Oda is able to build up villains like NL or Lucci or Crocodile and stuff into such imposing threats that make it so satisfying to see Luffy finally bring them down. I think no matter how it's spun, I think seeing Kaido, who had the most excitement in regard out of any of these villains so far, to be in this situation and portrayed like this does take away from him, personally.
I think I would agree with you there. I think that's a very fair point to make.
Thank you.
The only thing that I would put against that is that I feel in general people have very high expectation towards the Yonko, but with all four Yonko, like all four of the Yonko, they're the supposedly strongest pirates, but all of them have like their weaknesses. Like people were complaining with Big Mom, obviously with her entire stuff, that she was weak in certain moments. Then they're complaining with Kaido. Then we know Shanks lost his arm. You could say, okay, he did that on purpose, but like Shanks is definitely not invincible, as we know also from his scar with Blackbeard. We definitely know that Blackbeard, like whatever is up with him, like if it's just one of his personalities or like, but there are certain moments when Blackbeard definitely has been in precarious situations.
It's like, and Whitebeard had his illness, but it's like,
and Whitebeard had his illness.
It's like Oda has like a little bit of a juggling act here, where he's like, okay, I need to introduce the Yonko, wicked strong pirates, best of the best, but they're not gods, they're still humans, at least. Well, if you want to call Kaido human, I don't know, it's kind of up for debate, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah,
beastly.
Yeah, demonic, oni, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so for me, I think, I understand your point, and I agree with it to a certain degree. I think that is actually a fair point to make. But I think that maybe the main difference is that I don't go, or that I don't approach most of the Yonko with that expectations that they are these incredible, like, monsters, like you said, attacking like gods that I have to overcome, but rather they are incredibly strong, but like they also have their faults like every other character also.
Yeah, I'll just say, like, in a vacuum, like, simple story, even if you take Yonko context out of it, etc., I personally like, in a straightforward One Piece arc, the sense that the villain, and I think Oda always does a really good job of this, the sense that the villain is this towering sort of threat that feels like it has the ability to press, like, everybody in that storyline until Luffy comes along and then takes it down. And it feels more satisfying to me to see Luffy beat that guy who's gone unbeaten the entire storyline. You know what I mean? Like, if I had seen Ace beat Crocodile first, and then, like, 40 chapters later, then Luffy beats Crocodile, like, it's just not the same effect to me personally.
That is true.
Same if I'd seen Fujitora beat down Doflamingo, or Sabo beat down Doflamingo, etc.
Do you think, Mr. Morj, because in the chapter when, Odin cuts him and he goes down, did you think that was like, okay, that was it? Odin was going to straight up win that fight with the next attack, and it was like Higurashi.
That's the thing.
I didn't really, because I didn't get that immediate impression that like he needed saved. Like he got down, Higurashi felt like that was my time to distract him. It's not like Kaido asked for it or anything, and he just did it, and then that's how it went. Kaido still might have survived. He might have not have gotten beheaded.
That's the thing. I don't know. Like, I just don't like the fact that it was made like. I get that Oda likes to make things ambiguous in a certain sense, but this was one of those cases where it's like ambiguous in a way that helps nothing, because for people who feel like it felt like Kaido had to be saved, that's the impression you get no matter what. And then people who want to preserve that idea that no, Kaido is still this big threat, you don't really get a concrete sense that, like, no, he could have handled things on his own. And like, you can rationalize it plenty of ways. Like, he didn't use his hybrid form. He was in his weakest form, according to some people, to start with. He's would have been stronger 20 years later and stuff. But then you have to include a lot of your own headcanon to kind of preserve which I don't like. We can shift away to this topic to talk a little bit about speculation, unless you guys have more thoughts on it, because there is a lot more to talk about, like, theory-wise from this chapter. Unless you guys have more thoughts on this.
I mean, not really. I mean, that was the main focus of the chapter. I think that a lot of people were, well, not the main focus. There's other stuff, but yeah, that was the main thing a lot of people latched onto. I think I said pretty much everything that,
Right. Well, the only thing that I would probably want to, like, just append to that is that I personally am not sure, like, I think we talked about this before, that it would be nice that certain aspects of the flashback would have been longer. I personally didn't expect the fight to be longer than that. I was already surprised it was that long. So while I see that people want to see more of that, I think it was obvious from the start that in a flashback we're not going to see all of Kaido's, like, techniques and, like, what he does in a fight and what, like, I never expected that. So I think it was kind of weird that people go in like, oh yeah, no, it's the flashback and, like, we're going to get, like, this all-out battle. I'm like, this Like this is what would really take away, I feel, for me from the conflict.
Oh, I get that. I think I'll say this then. I think it was part of the fact that it felt like, would you have been okay with this then if it was like the same thing, like a panel of Odin slicing Kaido, followed by the Momonosuke bait thing, followed by Kaido hitting him? I would have been okay with just that section of the fight. It was more so the fact that it happened in a way that like didn't feel like it had like how do I explain this? So let's say like it felt like it just happened in the flow of many events happening, if that makes sense, versus like if we got like a Kaido versus Luffy, for example, was also a one-shot fight. But it had a bit of like it spaced it out it paced it out in a way that felt like
but that was
a build up to the moment.
I agree.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I do get
like
100%, but then again, that for me is the main storyline, which has to do a completely different job.
Yeah. And I think Oda's main job there was just I really want to hammer in the futility that Luffy has no hope to beat him at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In general, like, I mean, maybe that's a good point to like move the discussion on a bit. Like, Teching, for you, like, what do you personally? Because I feel that's a big point of discussion for a lot of people. What for you? What did you expect the flashback to be about, and what, like, now with it almost over, what do you think it was actually about?
Like the entirety of the flashback.
Yeah,
together.
the purpose, kind of.
I was actually okay. First off, it was way longer than I originally anticipated. I thought like, okay, we're about to get into this big fight in Act 3. I thought we were going to focus on Odin for maybe like 5-6 chapters. It lasted a lot longer than I figured. And I like that, honestly, a lot of ways. It covering everything from Odin when he was still living in Wano, traveling with Roger and Whitebeard and all that stuff. What it was really about, I don't know, like humanizing Odin. Yeah, let's go with that, I guess. Because, we didn't know much about the man beforehand other than just, he's this great badass, he's really powerful. And this really worked to give him, like, okay, what kind of personality is attached to a man like that? And we got different varieties of that sprinkled throughout.
Right. Plus, I guess, all the Void Century Roger teasing stuff.
Oh, yeah, well, obviously that was fun, too.
Was that something that you felt added to your experience of the flashback, or was that rather something you say maybe it would have been smarter to integrate that at some later point in the story?
Yeah, even Oda came out and said, like, I gotta be really careful when writing these chapters, because it's like, this is Odin's story. He's narrating it, or it's from his logbook. So Whitebeard and Roger are gonna be part of that just by extension, but yeah, Oda does it in a good way where it's like, if Odin's not there to witness it, he's not like, he doesn't write it, and he's not like some godly narrator or anything, so he leaves that ambiguous. And then, of course, Laugh Tale and all that stuff, that's, he doesn't draw the island or the treasure or like even hint at it. So I'm like, aside from the laughter that Roger does. But yeah, I think also considering One Piece is nearing its final saga after Wano, throwing that in, I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like the big, like for me, what like I loved every chapter I got to see Roger, and I'm really happy that Oda managed to nail that in a way for me, because actually showing the legend of the entire series, the guy that has been like in the shadows as the big fish kind of. I think there was like a real, like, people just went over it, but for me it was really I was really relieved to see that he portrayed Roger in a way that I thought felt natural.
He was a pirate. He was a pirate. Yeah.
Roger was like one of those portrayals, dude, that like it's hard to fit whatever we've built up or imagined in our minds, I guess, but he somehow did it like perfectly. Like and
very
he could have gone the
organically.
easy route of just making him another Luffy, but he didn't. Like, Roger feels distinct from Luffy while still echoing that same sort of thing. So I don't know. I think he did a really great job with Roger, even if we didn't get too deep into like his personality and everything.
And we're going to be focusing on Roger. I'm sure we'll get a flashback arc just focused on like Roger's youth.
I think the rocks,
yeah.
rock scene has to be shown. I think.
Oh God, yeah.
Maybe not has to, but I think it will be.
Oh, I think it definitely should have to be seen, considering it. At least like the battle at God Valley. I don't know if like every little detail of Rox's crew built up from the beginning or anything, but like that part has to be shown.
Oh, yeah. Battle of God Valley will be the most hype flashback of all
I saw some fan art.
Even
I saw
more
some
than this
fan
one.
art of that the other day, and it's Garp and Roger. Like, he's like, you take the left, I'll take the right, and like Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido are like looming over them. Like, oh my God, that was so damn cool.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Is Rayleigh in that picture?
Huh?
Did they get Rayleigh in or Bronze?
Oh no,
Did they get Rayleigh or Bronze in that picture?
No. but they should have been. Yeah.
Actually, do you?
I feel like Rayleigh probably contributed a lot.
Oh God, yeah,
you know?
absolutely,
For sure. Do you guys feel like, because I think that's something people have been asking a lot, is like, why didn't Whitebeard do anything after learning about Odin's execution?
Yes.
Do you feel like
Izo
there's
as
still,
well? Yeah.
Do you feel there's still like something? Oh well, maybe Whitebeard doesn't like Kaido, but it's still like we were at the same crew, and like I kind of, like kind of an honorary kind of, oh, I can't fight you kind of thing.
I don't know, because I feel like if the news would have reached them, if Izo would have found out, like, Kaido killed Odin, be like, Whitebeard would be pissed. He would go. I would like this to be touched upon at some point. Yeah.
Right.
Probably when,
that's a really
probably
good
when
point.
Izo
And then
Izo
Ace
reappears.
went to Wano, right? So like Whitebeard must have like said like, oh, you like, what did he do there? Like he probably like I don't think Ace just went here to make like straw hats with Tama.
Ace,
Like he definitely
it seemed
had
like
purpose.
Ace went to the island, I think, before he joined Whitebeard's crew, I believe.
I think so like I actually don't know if
Because didn't he make the
you
hat
need
for
an-
Ors Jr. and
He
everything?
did. Well, he said
No,
he learned
Ace
how to
definitely went
do
to
it
Wano.
there.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
He might have went more than once, but I think the first time we saw him meet Tama, they were with he was with the Spade crew, I think.
How long was Ace part of the crew of Whitebeard's crew? Because I guess you could like
2
calculate
years.
it back.
2 years, I think.
Yeah, there's a
2 to 3 or something.
timeline you could pull it up. Yeah.
There's Ace novels and such out there. Dude, I don't think that actually, I personally don't think that we need that much of an explanation for the why there wasn't some avenging force coming out after Odin. Just because, like, I think there's a big difference between, like, how Whitebeard's sons are people who are under his protection, right? Like, that's how I view it. Like, so don't touch a hair. But Whitebeard didn't view Odin, like, Odin was Whitebeard's brother, in a sense. And I think once you've separated from the crew and gone off on your own way, it's kind of like, that's your own thing. Like, it's the same way, for example, if Zoro goes to fight Mihawk in a duel, and Mihawk kills Zoro, like, out there somewhere, I don't expect Luffy and the Straw Hats to be coming after Mihawk to get revenge. Like, I think that's just his own adventure.
I could see
think
that
it's very
perspective,
different when
yeah.
it's
Like you
coming after someone who's in the crew versus, like, somebody who's separated and
Yeah,
gone back
kind
to
of
his
like,
own
you know, it's like,
path.
hey, you're leaving the nest, you're having your own crew. If you come back to me and ask for help, I'll help you. But, you know, it's your own adventure.
Like, if Odin had asked for help, then 100%.
I'm not
but
sure
the thing is,
if I
Odin
agree
could
with
have
that.
handled it, it looked like. So
I'm not sure
you
if
know.
I agree with that comparison.
It is a little
like,
bit more
Rod-
honorable in that case.
Yeah, exactly. Like Zoro going.
I did
off-
do a cheating comparison there. I agree. Like, that wasn't the most honest comparison. or whatever.
I get your point,
but
but
do you kind of get what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
I do.
It would be more like, okay, if Zoro went to go fight Mihawk in an honorable duel and Mihawk was a dick and like
stabbed him in the back.
or something, would Luffy get involved? I'm like, I don't.
might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I guess a comparison might
And
be
then
like Luffy.
Ace also
when
just
Luffy-
went on and did his own thing to face Blackbeard, right?
Yeah,
I guess
and
you could
I
say.
just watched the episode of the anime when I was rewatching Thriller Bark, and when Luffy found out, like, oh, Ace is dying apparently, and he's like, yeah, it's his own adventure though. I'm not gonna go run to his aid. I mean, you know, he'll be okay.
That's exactly what I
He'll
was
be
thinking,
okay,
basically.
yeah.
Like, especially if Whitebeard would have found out like 10 years, 20 years after the fact, then it's kind of
Right.
awkward.
Then
different.
of course, of course. Yeah, I don't know.
But I agree. Like, for a while, I thought it was necessary to get some sort of explanation scene. But, like, just the idea that Wano is really cut off, I just rethought it a little bit. I don't think it's that necessary at this point.
I mean, let me phrase it this way. I don't think it's a necessity to get an explanation, but I think it would be nice to hear.
100% agree. 100% agree. Like, it would fill in that sort of question instead of me having to headcanon it. You know what I
Do
mean?
you guys feel Izo is going to appear here at some point in the rest of this
Oh,
arc?
yeah,
Then
for sure.
I think
like,
when
why set that up?
I
otherwise?
think when Izo shows up, I feel like he's going to mention something regarding that. It's probably not going to be something major. It's going to be like, oh, this is blah, 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 but now we're doing this, you know, whatever.
Right, like we
Yeah.
wanted to come, but we were doing.
Yeah,
this and
it's
that.
it's gonna be something like that, yeah. And plus the whole overarching thread with where all the Whitebeard commanders at right now, that was set up with Marco, and then, you know, now Izo, so yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, do you think? Well, but that wouldn't make any sense. But I was just thinking maybe Roger said something to Whitebeard in the terms of like Odin's gonna go back, but like he might fail or something.
I don't know.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
I don't know about that, yeah.
I wonder if we're going to get that conversation. The full
Oh,
conversation.
yeah.
I
I'm
hope
sure.
we do, yeah. We used to think that was at Wano, but I guess I don't know where that's at
Yeah.
now. Yeah. The
It might have actually been in Oda's initial plan of it, but he did it so long ago, you know what I mean?
yeah, you could always like there's
like,
other
Oda's a
islands.
great
There's other
planner, but,
islands
like,
that
the
have
plan-
cherry blossoms and waterfalls. You know, it's like
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, in general, I feel Wano will probably be like um, the kind of the ending arc for the Whitebeard Pirates in a way, because like they have their arc is kind of still hanging in the air.
It's kind of like a
with-
background plot,
Yeah.
going on, yeah.
And I mean, you could say maybe it's also Blackbeard, but I personally wouldn't like the Whitebeard Pirates fighting Blackbeard so much as I would like them to fight Kaido and come to Wano. Because Blackbeard, like Blackbeard, I think we can agree.
They fought them already.
Yeah. Yeah, he already fought them. I mean, you could say, okay, maybe they have to, support Luffy and something, but, Blackbeard is, I think we can all agree the villain that Luffy and his crew have to face 1v1, right?
No matter what, yeah.
So then them coming to Wano and, Izo coming back and everything and them having traveled with Oda, and I feel like that would make a lot more sense, for sure. Nice.
Do you think, do we have more thoughts on that? Because actually I kind of want to bring up from last, I guess, 2 podcasts ago, because this is kind of relevant to teching as well. Do you know what I'm talking about, Ohara? It's a theory.
Oh, the theory, yes. Oh,
Go for it. Hit me.
Oh, shit. Should we read it?
No, you already know it. I actually don't know it.
I haven't finished reading it, to be honest, because I didn't want to spoil myself.
So I guess I can give teching context real quick, and then Ohara can expand on it. So there was a theory that some guy messaged us, another YouTuber of a different language.
I think Portuguese.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Portuguese. Another YouTuber had messaged us for Wano Report questions, and he asked us to check out his theory. And it was some theory about 8 moons, something along those lines. And Ohara started reading it to me, and it sounded like a really, really interesting theory. And when a theory gets too good, I'm weird. I actually personally don't like to hear it because I feel like I'm getting spoiled on the story, and I would rather actually hear it in the narrative or whatever. But for the sake of views, I guess people were kind of pissed that I cut the theory. People were not happy in the comments that I'd cut the theory short partway through the podcast and been like, okay, please stop reading it.
I mean, I've had moments like that
we heard
before.
That you actually did a video on this theory.
Okay.
Am I right, Ohara?
Me?
Yeah.
No?
Did Tekking do a video?
No,
on this
I
theory?
think the guy who texted me said that he also texted it to you, Tekking. So I wasn't sure.
I get so many theories. I can't read through all of them. But 8 moons, that doesn't ring an immediate bell.
I could read it and we could talk about it if you want to.
If you don't want to, it's fine. Yeah, it's all right.
Don't push yourself, Morj.
Okay, I'm not gonna push myself.
Okay.
Canceling the theory.
I'm the exact opposite of you.
I thought it was a talking point because I thought that Tekking had somehow also seen that theory.
I probably have. It's just that I get so many. It's and I'm the exact opposite of you. Like when I get a theory and I'm reading it and it makes a lot of sense to me, like, oh my god, that's so cool.
No, I get that too. It's just it's followed by, oh man, but then I don't get that sort of reveal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
high excitement,
but I think isn't it also cool? Do you know the feeling when you have a really, really good theory? It all makes sense, but in the end, it still turns out to be something better or something different.
Oh yeah,
that's even cooler.
That's happened a lot. Yeah,
that's how I hope about the. We've talked about
this,
the all blue connecting the oceans theory or whatever.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
And I think you and I both think, and Tekking, I'm pretty sure you've made a video on this in the past or whatever. But everybody I've talked to is but there should be something more. And I'm not expecting anything more. I know that there's more missing pieces and stuff. I'm just not expecting anything way more than the idea that all the oceans are going to be connected. So I'd rather be pleasantly surprised when Oda's got something even more mind-blowing in mind.
Yeah, I like to think Oda keeps at least a little bit of a heartbeat on theories and stuff, and he's like, oh, they figured I'm going to do that. Okay, well, I'm going to figure out something else to add to that to make it cooler,
Yeah. The R plus L equals J in Game of Thrones? That thing. Oh, Tekking, I don't know if you follow Game of Thrones.
I do, yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, the idea that, Jon Snow was the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna.
Rhaegar,
so that was the big...
Spoiler warning.
Dude, I don't... Yeah. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones already, don't.
Oh, no.
All right? Just don't.
Do yourself a favor and don't watch Season 8.
Yeah, just don't. I'm helping you out here, I swear. I feel like that R plus L equals J was the biggest... mystery or the biggest sort of reveal that the author could have done throughout that series, and I feel like the connecting the four oceans, all blue theory is the equivalent of that in One Piece. But at the same time, there's more to it than that. The same way in Game of Thrones, there's more to it. Than
Yeah,
just,
there's always that's like okay, that's one aspect, but what about this? You know,
and it might be the most key aspect, but there's more peripheral stuff.
I think
that
that's
goes into it.
actually something I'd like to know. Like, because we talked about this a couple of times on the podcast before, but for you teching personally, I think we can definitely expect, like, I think we can all agree that we expect like some great reveals at the end of the story. But for you, do you expect the One Piece ending to be something rather, like, just something grand, you know, like big battle, and then, like, you know, reuniting the oceans, which obviously would already be a good ending? Or do you expect it to be like a complete mindfuck kind of thing where it's like, oh, like, we used to think the world looks like this, but it's actually not this way? Like, it's actually something completely different.
I think given all of the hints we've got up until now, and this is 100% just my theory and headcanon and stuff, but I think the red line's coming down. Like, that's like a big one. I had this, I made a video about this a few times, and I've talked about this. I'm not the person that originated this, but the idea that it used to be this like super high-tech civilization, and then when the world government took over, they kind of ruined everything and got it back into the era it's in now. And that's like a big mystery they don't want the world to know, because if you tell the citizens that like, yeah, the world used to be awesome, we used to have cures for all these diseases, and the government's the one that screwed it up. Yeah, you don't want people finding out about that. So right. I would love for that to be the case, you know. But as for like the ending of the story, yeah, you know what? I think just Straw Hat's big epic battle at Laugh Tale, or the Straw Hats like get the One Piece, and everyone's like, okay, the Straw Hats have it, let's go get them, and then this big epic fight for it, and you know everyone ends like singing Bink Sake as the sun sets or some shit. I don't know, you know, like.
Okay. So it's not so you don't expect something to be like, oh, well, like we thought all the time that the One Piece world was just this planet with like these four oceans and that's it. But right. In the end, it turned out to be something freakishly different.
So it turns out.
There's a bunch of flat earthers in the One Piece world who turn out to be
flat. Like,
so it turns out.
I don't want to say it, but you know.
It turns out, okay, so we think it's ending with the Straw Hats finding the One Piece singing in the sunset. Boom. Then Eneru shows back with his aliens, and he's like, there's a lot bigger world out there, guys. And then
One Piece Z. From then on, they go to Namek.
They go to space.
True Piece.
Space pirates. I love how space pirates are a real thing that actually exists in One Piece, though.
Right.
I freaking love Oda.
Do you expect that's the place we'll go, the moon?
I would love to do that, but we'll see.
100%. I think Moon is on lock.
Moon is okay. So Uranos is the Greek god of the sky. So I'm thinking that is going to be a sky weapon. So Moon, which apparently exists in the sky because you can breathe on it and just roll with it. But yeah.
When did you change your pronunciation from Uranus to Uranus? Did you do that on purpose?
Okay, so I was watching a video. You ever hear of a YouTuber called CGP Grey? He was making a video about the subject, and he's like, I don't say Uranus because it sounds like, you know, urine, or, you know, Uranus for obvious reasons. And Uranos, I think, is the proper pronunciation of the Greek god who he's named after, so that's why I go with that, yeah.
Right. It's not as funny, though.
Uranos. It's not nearly as funny, but, you know, you grow out of that when you're, like, 9, so...
Oh,
yeah.
No, definitely not.
I made a video on that subject, and I said Uranus the entire time.
And I
literally didn't think people would care. I thought nothing of it was saying it.
I thought it was hilarious.
All the top comments were about, like, lol, Uranus.
I was definitely...
about Uranus.
I was definitely laughing when I saw that.
You know what? I say Uranos all the time, and I thought I would get a lot more comments that are like, why are you calling it that? And I get a few of them from time to time, but not as much as you'd figure. Yeah, people are just like,
sorry, calling what? I missed it.
Oh, when I always call it Uranos, and I thought, okay, if I keep saying Uranos, that's such an unusual way to say it. I thought I was going to get a lot of comments that were going to be like, why are you calling it that? And I get a few, but not as much as you would think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's a funny word. It's funny, you know.
It's a very funny word.
Yes.
Nice. Was there anything... I'm just thinking, because I think there's like so many implications we have over the last couple of chapters. I mean, there's just...
Yeah, we're missing that. That's what I was trying to segue into, but I totally forgot about it. Again, I don't like talking trader stuff. Because I prefer to be surprised. I don't like spoilers, and most of all, I love whodunits.
Oh, I love spoilers.
So mysteries are great. I like me some spoilers too.
You know, so if we get a spoiler level theory answering the whodunit, I'll be really upset.
Yeah, you know, like I'm thinking of it, and I don't really like to talk about too much because I'm like, it could go so many different ways. with it, and like even in the review, I'm like, I think it's definitely these two people, but then I'm like, well, actually, no, okay, well, no, 4, 5, 6, okay, wait, no,
Oh, you mean the Kings?
Yeah, it just keeps
yeah.
expanding, and I'm like, I can see it going so many different ways. We'll see what Oda does with it.
You know, that's like one of the reasons that I think on my channel I have like a single theory video. That's pretty much it.
I do too.
So
I'm just glad it's probably not Carrot.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I did one on why I think that the poneglyphs were made using hockey. That's basically it.
I like that theory, by the way.
But that was it.
You might be 1 for 1 on your theories, basically.
That would be great.
They have to be indestructible for. They have to be made out of like sea prism or something to make them indestructible. You know, I mean.
Yeah, I personally think, like, even Sea Prism Stone, you could say that's like, you know, like my thought would like, okay, if you can infuse like swords with hockey, why not? Why can't you do it with other objects? And you know, and then that would also make sense why Roger and Luffy can understand them, hear their will, because someone actually literally poured their willpower into these stones. You know, kind of like that. And it also would. It. Yeah, I guess. And if you have like a lot of, you know, like if you have a lot of people pouring their hockey in at the same time, that would explain why it's pretty much impossible for someone even with strong hockey to destroy it, I guess.
Yeah. Like we find out there's way different kinds of observation. There's like observation that like Luffy and like you, then there's the future sight. Then there's like, I don't know if you remember, the Otohime had like an emotional observational hockey where she could sense like she's really empathic with each other.
Doesn't that Luffy has it also, right? Like he understands people, right? Isn't that what Luffy says?
I think it was just more explained with Otohime, but yeah, I think Luffy could do that too. But yeah, so you could see it as like people didn't use hockey to fight back during the Void Century. They used it to like infuse their will into objects or something.
And
like
communicate and stuff.
Yeah, to convey across, you know.
Yeah. Well, my point being, like, I'm not a theory guy, so I personally...
I'm not the best either, but you know, they're fun to talk about.
Yeah, it's maybe also why I tend to view chapters maybe more positively than others, because for me it's like, as long as I get a reasonable explanation for things, like it doesn't have to be the most exciting answer to what I expected. I just like to be, I just like to let myself be surprised by the story, whatever it does, and like it should be something very, very bad or very, very illogical for me to go.
I do tend to like it because I do read spoilers a lot, and I'm reading through a lot of stuff. I do genuinely like it when I'm like, all right, I think I know 100% how this is gonna go, and then Oda throws a curveball, and I'm like, I see what you did there. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Oda is like, I think underrated, not underrated, but like he's really good at plot twists.
Oh god, yeah.
I think, and like as much as I think like he gets shafted in that category a little bit because some people are like, One Piece's formula is a little formulaic.
Oh yeah,
like, it is generally get the
best
island,
general
XYZ happens by the end. But he's really, really good at doing twists and like throwing off your expectations. So I don't know. I think sometimes when it doesn't happen as much, or like he doesn't, like he's already set the bar so high in terms of like how much he's able to like mess with what we think is going to happen. So I think sometimes when that doesn't happen, you know what I mean? Then like people start to feel
like yeah.
Oh, by the way, Tacking, I saw you started reading Vinland Saga recently, or did you already finish?
I finished it, yeah. I'm caught up now, yeah.
Right. What do you think about it?
Oh, wow.
I really dig it. Thorfinn's evolution as a character throughout, that was like, I was going to make a video about that, so we'll see where that goes. Because it's like I was reading it and I was really into it, and then I went to other stuff. But yeah, I'm liking it because back when I was reading the chapters, like in the first arc, Thorfinn is like just this moody, like, basically like a Sasuke just dialed up to like 14, or he's just like, I'm just gonna kill everybody. And I'm like, all right, I mean, typical anime protagonist. I mean, whatever. It's a seinen, typical seinen protagonist, I guess. And then you get into the slavery arc and then beyond, and I'm like,
Whoa, hold up. Not too many.
No, I'm not. I dig it. It's a good journey. I like it. Yeah.
It's really like I also love this. I didn't know what to expect from it, but I love this like anime manga kind of twist on like northern mythology.
Oh yeah.
Or like it's not even mythology, it's like northern history kind of, actually.
It is history. Yeah, like Leif Erikson and everything. Yeah.
So it's pretty nice.
Is it fantasy based or is it more so grounded in realism?
It's just a real Viking story. I mean,
it takes
the characters
place when
aren't
because have you not read it yet, Miss Morj?
Miss Morj?
No.
Mr. Morj. Yeah, I was like,
They
should I
say
say,
Mr. Morj.
should I dress with the honorific?
Nobody calls me Mister, and I never expected that. But like people early on were saying Mr. Morj a bunch. But now
I have
Mr.
this
Morj.
thing where I like to do like honorifics, or not even that. Like if my friend's named Chris, I'll like Christopher. Like I have to say it in the full form. But
the full thing.
But anyway, no, yeah, it's grounded in history. It's more of an historical manga when like there was a moment in history where the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons go to England, and they're kind of like back and forth, the Danes and the English, and that covers that war like in the manga. Now they take some artistic liberties with it, sure, but
Obviously, and
it's
the
grounded in
characters.
reality. Like Leif Erikson is a character in this. I love it. Yeah.
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 It's really, really nice. And like I love how deep the characters go. Like Ashila is like definitely one of my favorite character arcs of the last year for sure. Like in any story. It's really, really cool.
Ohara, are you up to date with it?
I am almost caught up. Yeah.
Yeah, I read
Guys,
the
how
whole thing
close
in like
would you
less than a
say-
week. I was really into it.
How close would you say it is to finishing? If that makes, I like getting the series that feel like they're closer to finishing. If that makes sense.
It possibly just entered its final arc. Like literally just
Wait,
started.
what? It just ended its entered. Its
Entered.
final
Oh no, like literally, like
Okay, I
we're
said
like
possibly
literally.
ended its final arc.
Yeah, we're
sometime.
like literally 3 chapters into maybe the final arc.
Yeah, it's not
yeah.
clear though. Okay,
Yeah.
I haven't caught up that much yet, but yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you should definitely, like, if you're into honor, like, you could call your friend Christian, maybe Christian.
Oh, I
It's
should
funny.
do that. Yeah. I have my one friend Frank just shuts me down whenever I do any anime bullshit around him. You know,
It's pretty funny though.
it's like, oh, Frank Chan is like, stop it. I'm like, okay. He's a fun guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Christian, it definitely works pretty well.
Yeah,
Christian.
I'll do that next time I see
friends
him.
Tend to
Yeah.
have a very, very low tolerance for anything anime
Really?
related. I've noticed. So
Wow.
yeah, just keep it completely
Chris,
separate.
yeah, he's known me for a while, so it's like he knows what I do.
Exactly. Have to deal with it.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm really digging Vinland Saga. Yeah.
Is it like Kingdom? I don't know if that's
You know
another
what?
series that I'm-
Kingdom focused a lot more on the tactics of battle. Vinland Saga certainly does that, but not to like the level of like because Kingdom really breaks it down. You know
Is
how
Kingdom
that
worth
works.
reading?
No. I haven't read either of those.
Same.
So I'm trying to kind of pick my next series
Okay.
because I'm on a bit of a manga binge right now.
If I had to pick between one or the other, because they're both grounded in historical fact, I would go Vinland Saga just because I prefer Norse more than I don't know that much about Chinese history. I should learn more. Actually, all I know about Chinese history comes from Kingdom and Mulan. So and Shaolin,
I mean,
bit of
that's a
Shaolin
solid
Showdown,
basis.
little bit of Shaolin Showdown too. But
And the coronavirus news, of course.
yeah, that too is
Shaolin Showdown, I hear, got a sequel.
They did, and it
But,
sucked. It also ended. It's not on anymore. Shaolin Chronicles. But
Yeah, I mean, that's like Kingdom, Berserk are definitely two things that are definitely on my bucket list.
Kingdom focuses a lot more if you like how battles were laid out like back then and really laid out tactically. Because there's not just like, yeah, there's characters that are fighters, there's also characters that are tacticians, and we focus a lot on them as well. You know, I made it to about chapter 200 something of Kingdom, and then I stopped reading it, and I don't know what it's up to.
okay.
Now it's like up to like 500, 600 right now. I don't remember.
That tells me everything I need
Nice.
to know.
There you
I'll
go.
definitely check it out. But yeah, Vinland is definitely Morj. I can definitely recommend it as well. I even think like, I mean, it depends if you say you would just want to read the manga, but I personally really, really thought the anime was really well made. Like really well made. So
Did you do the anime first?
I
and then
did,
the manga,
yeah,
or
I
what?
started with the anime and then with the manga.
Dude, because I've been thinking like maybe I'll just watch the anime for that
Yeah.
and then catch up as it goes along.
I would
but,
recommend that
you know.
personally. I don't actually
Really?
think. I mean, there is like some parts of the anime I think skip over certain periods of time that are maybe a little bit more fleshed out in the manga. But I think like the music and like the animation is really nicely done, and the emotions of the characters are really nicely portrayed. So I was a fan of that. I would recommend that. But like,
I had every intention of doing that because last year when the anime came out, everyone was talking about how good it was. I'm like, all right, I'll get to it at some point. I was in a bookstore on New Year's Day and I saw Vinland Saga in like a hardcover, and I'm like,
ooh,
all right, I'm a
Fancy.
sucker. I'm a sucker for hardcover manga, so I bought it, and I'm like, I got really into it from there and just read the manga. I've seen a few episodes of the anime and really enjoyed it, but yeah, I started with the manga. Yeah.
I mean, I love reading manga, obviously, but like, I always feel that if you get the anime right, that's the key. If you get the anime right, it's just almost always, like 99% of the time, it's just going to be better.
It's absolutely great. Yeah.
Like it's hard. I think like you'd have to be something like Berserk is a series I personally feel will always be better in manga form, but that's about the only one. And that's just because of the way that it's done.
I've heard the way
sense.
that the Kingdom 2016 anime, it didn't work out too well.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a Kingdom anime.
Not a Kingdom. Well, no. Berserk anime.
Berserk
anime.
right.
There is a
Berserk
there is a
anime.
Kingdom anime. They use a lot of CG in it, and they switch back and forth between the 2D and CG a lot. And it's like it kind of be sort of jarring with that, because it's sort of like switching back between really good 2D and then like PS2 graphics kind of CG, and it's like
I'm really happy that that's like a trend. I personally feel has like sort of stopped with animes, that they are overdoing their thing with the CG. I think like people realize that that's not working for people, so it's like now more back to a traditional.
I get why they did it in Kingdom, because you have these really large scale battles, and doing that in 2D, it might be easier to just do it in CG. I get it, but I found it kind of jarring.
It looks irritating because it feels like the objects kind of look detached from like the landscape and the background.
Do. And they keep switching back between it, one or the other, and it's like, yeah.
This might be controversial, but I think like general rule of thumb for myself. So I don't dislike stuff like Pixar stuff like Toy Story, etc. Obviously, I don't that stuff's all cool.
Toy Story
but
is
I think
an awesome
in terms
movie,
of,
the new one. Like
it's an awesome movie, but for me personally, in terms of animation, I really dislike the fact that that sort of 3D looking animation has killed. At least in popular Disney movies, for example, the idea of just having flat 2D animation, because I think that that's much more. To me, that's what animation is. Like, it's more imaginative. It's less grounded in reality. To me, I don't like the fact that a Toy Story and etc. like those feel like I'm just watching real life.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, with a sort of
but I mean,
spin
I feel
on
like
it.
Toy Story is also trying to achieve something different than an animation.
100%. No, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I guess it comes down to
No, I know.
the type of
agree
animated
with you.
movies I prefer.
agree with you completely.
Yeah,
I just think
Toy Story's not as
Exactly.
effective if it was 2D animation. It loses the idea of what it's
No, I wasn't disagreeing with you. I just think that people aren't aware that Toy Story isn't trying to achieve that, but like they think it's setting a standard for everything when it's not trying to, kind of,
It's not trying.
Yeah.
It was just so good that like it just
Dude,
it killed it not intentionally. If that makes sense.
Dude, it's crazy. Like the amount of detail in those movies. Like they have like fake camera effects and everything.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
You know that scene where in Toy Story 2 where he's cleaning up the doll? There's that doll not doll. You're not talking about Woody.
Yeah,
right?
Woody.
Like Woody
yeah.
gets fixed up basically. That scene is like still like stand out, one of the best animated scenes you'll ever see, just because of the.
It's really good ASMR too.
Also, I'm not trying to shit on Toy Story, guys. Like my favorite, one of my maybe the saddest any animated movie makes me is when that Jessie song in Toy Story 2. Or it's up there. It's up there. It's maybe the saddest. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying as a general thing, I much prefer the normal. I don't even know what normal means. You know what I mean.
You're gonna make me watch Toy Story 2 now after this. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep tonight. So thank you.
That's good. That's what I like.
That Jessie song is so sad. It's so fucking sad.
When somebody loved me.
No. That's enough.
It's already. I saw a tear there. A small one.
When she.
Oh man,
Oh,
I can
my
already hear like the comment section. They're like, "Fucking talk about One Piece." Like, why are you not talking about One Piece? So to please the audience
if
a
you want to
bit-
talk like CG and One Piece, we could talk about the live action thing that's happening, because I made a video about that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, sure. I wanted to say like if the audience wants that, let's talk about Harry Potter. But sure.
Oh well, Harry Potter too. Yeah, I'm reading. I remember the book.
Let's talk about
Here
the
we
live
go.
action real quick, just to get those thoughts out, and then we can.
Sure.
Okay, let's do some One Piece, and then let's get back to Harry Potter.
Yeah, okay.
And then probably wrap up with some questions.
That works. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, okay.
Oh, nice. Is that the hardcover version you got there?
Oh, me? No, yeah, I'm just rolling with the paperbacks that I used to read when I was in elementary school, so I just went with that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Okay,
Yeah.
live action.
Yeah. Just for a little bit. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
See, we talked about it a little last time, but it was mostly about like fantasy casting, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't really do. I'm not really good at
ridiculous.
that, like looking at actors and stuff, because I'm just not really good at that, like who would play who. But
Exactly.
I was just more looking at like, okay, it's gonna be live action, so you're gonna have to rely on CGI for a lot of stuff. And I'm thinking like if they throw enough money at this, like a good budget, which a lot of anime live action movies don't typically get a huge budget. But if it got enough money for this, like I could imagine Luffy's like rubber powers looking really good if like enough care went into it.
Did Brago say that they get like $90 million for that?
If it's 90
Oh,
million,
you're saying split over the 10.
They get, like-
you're saying split over the 10?
It was like 10 million per episode or something.
if it was,
in 9 episodes.
like I said, yeah, someone told me that too. If it was 10 million per episode, that's good. I
Yeah,
can
that would
see
be
that
really
that's
good.
like because like Game of Thrones was like on average like 15 million per episode, and they could like Game of Thrones also had a lot of on location shooting and really high profile
they set a lot
actors.
of standards, of course.
Yeah, and high profile actors, they take a lot of money too for their salaries. So if you get 10 million per episode and you get some actors that aren't really like super high profile, but they could still, I don't think you need to have A-list actors to make this work.
No,
you know?
definitely not.
And a lot of the sets, at least in the East, like Syrup Village, Shell Town, they're not really super, you don't have to build sets.
Yeah,
The
Very
Baratier.
basic. You can use the same island or something.
Oh,
or
absolutely.
the same location.
The Baratier is when I started getting worried because I'm like, that whole arc takes place on a boat bouncing around in the water. How the hell are you going to film that?
Yeah, that would be CGI for sure.
Yeah, or maybe building Arlong Park or something as a set. Yeah, we'll see.
Like I already said the last time, I personally, if they get this budget, I personally hope they throw it at the right things, because for me, Game of Thrones, the advantage they had was like they could hire those very good actors, because yes, they had to do some CGI, but that CGI was mostly going into doing the dragons here and then doing the White Walkers here and then. For One Piece, since that is a lot, like Game of Thrones has fantasy in it, but it's not the main focus. Most of the story is not centered on fantasy, while One Piece will have to rely a lot on good CGI.
Oh, absolutely. I was looking, but here's the thing. Season 1 at the East Blue, I'm like, all right, that's not too bad, because there's only Luffy, Buggy, Smoker, Alvida are like the only people that, I guess Dragon at the very, very end, that are Devil Fruit users. So I'm like, all right, the islands aren't really that weird, and the Devil Fruit powers really aren't that abundant. But if Season 1 does really good, and hopefully, like, okay, they get a huge budget for Season 2, and we go into, like, Grand Line Alabasta stuff, then it's going to start to get way more complicated.
Though I feel like for a 9-episode thing, I would
think it's
actually
10.
prefer
I think
it
it's supposed
if
to be
it,
10 episodes.
or 10.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever it's gonna be. I personally would prefer it if they just said, okay, we test season 1, quote unquote. We test that until we get to the Grand Line, because I feel like that would be an appropriate amount of time to spend in the East Blue and set the story up, and then like we say, okay, if that works, we can actually look at like the arcs like in other seasons, kind of,
This has the potential.
I think
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, just saying. Like I think in general, the CGI expectations in theory, like if they wanted to adapt it straight, then it would be very high. But I think we would have to just accept the fact that like, short of Luffy himself, okay, like I think 50% of the budget is going into Luffy. So animating Luffy stretching or something.
At
like
least
that's
like
an
season
exaggeration
1,
maybe.
yeah.
But I think accepting the fact that, like, a Don Krieg, for example, he's not going to have his full assortment of toys. Like, he may ultimately be, like, just a guy with armor
which
like,
I would be okay with.
one...
Which I might think might be even better,
fine.
actually.
Yeah, but, like, a guy with armor and, like, one special weapon or something, but not too outlandish. Hero most likely being a guy who's just very fast, or maybe just having the cat claws or whatever. So I think in general, if everything's much more grounded in reality, they can get away with it being more like Pirates of the Caribbean with just a few extra.
Yeah,
I would want to see that.
I'm perfectly fine with that. And I said, like, I'm not expecting to walk away from this like this was the exact same thing as the anime, but they could definitely do it in a way where I walk away like, okay, different, but just as good. They could do that, yeah.
Probably, right?
Like, even if I was saying, like I said earlier, like the Baratier, that's really complicated to do that because it's a boat. It's like they want to bring it on land. I'm like, you know what?
Boats.
We can see where it goes. Yeah, sure. That's not that big of a.
To be honest,
yeah.
Like all I'm hoping for, I don't even care if the series is great. I would just like it to get more people into One Piece, if that makes sense. So, like, if the series is good enough, like I know The Witcher, for example. I don't think The Witcher is a great series by any means, but I think it's entertaining. If this series is entertaining enough that it gets more people into One Piece, I'll be very happy with it. I might not even watch like all the episodes if I don't like it, but if I know that it's getting more fans into One Piece, then that's
you just brought up an interesting thing too, Morj, when you said that like Pirates of the Caribbean thing. I'm like, they might try to make it more gritty like that, and I'm like, to maybe just broaden the audience. Maybe that's the thing though. Like, how would that go over?
It doesn't fit though.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit One Piece's vibe.
No,
enough.
I don't think so either.
It doesn't.
I mean, for me,
But they
personally,
still might do it. I don't know what they'll do. Here's the thing.
Yeah. For me personally, I would actually, in all honesty, I hope that they ground it. Like, I'm not only expecting it, I hope that they ground it more in reality, because I think in a live action that would suit One Piece a lot better. You know, like you said, like Kuro, it would already be good if that guy is just like fast moving, but like realistically fast moving, and you know,
yes,
like he doesn't have to like suddenly need like the whoosh and then like you have some,
there's just
smoke clouds in there.
There's just so many things from anime that can't translate well
exactly
into, like somebody else mentioned in a comment on my video, like, I cannot realistically see Zoro having a sword in his mouth and swinging it around as like a person. I'm like,
oh shit, I didn't.
Guys,
get ready for Zoro the 2-style swordsman.
Oh,
I think
I'm thinking that might be what they do with it. Yeah,
but you know, if it looks better in the end, like I can see them trying to do the three swords thing, and they're like, oh, we tried to CGI it in, like you just put like some. But if they say it doesn't look good, then I'd actually prefer him. Like, obviously, it takes away from the actual story, but if it like as an entity, like as one thing, if he looks better with two swords, then I take that.
Yeah, like honestly, I would look at it like that. Like, I wouldn't get really mad, like, Zoro uses 3 sword, not 2 sword, I'm dropping this now. I'd be like, all right, let's see what they do with this, you know, because just from it makes more sense.
I'm hoping for maximum accessibility.
Yeah.
So even if they like actually neuter the East Blue storyline a lot, but they just hit the like really nice points of it or whatever. Like, I don't care if they're cutting a bunch of characters or if they're doing X, Y, or Z. Even if they cut a Straw Hat, to be honest, unless it's one I really like. I just hope for maximum accessibility, just to get the most people possible trying out the series or checking it out or something like that. Actually, they shouldn't cut a Straw Hat. I take that back. But besides
they make Chopper just like a 12-year-old kid that's just like wearing a big
the ramen noodles
poofy hat.
The cup noodles, Hungry Days version of
Frankie.
Chopper.
They downgrade Frankie to just have a single cyborg arm, and they just like, all right, let's just roll with that. Yeah.
Oh God, Brooke! What the hell are they gonna do with
that? That won't be for a long time. Hopefully by then they would have like a huge budget if it gets to that point. You know what I mean?
Dude, even at that point, Brooke would be like the Direwolves, where they can show him
here and then. They just have him like throw comments in here and then, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think for people,
also gotta cut Brooke's gag.
I really hope people like can catch their expectations early on, because I think you will definitely have to, like, if you're a hardcore One Piece fan. So basically, if you're listening to this podcast,
yeah, pretty much,
and you're enough into One Piece that you read the manga weekly and everything, I think you should definitely not expect you shouldn't approach this live action as like, oh, I hope they make it as closely in accordance to the anime or the manga as possible. I think you actually have to watch it as like its own story, where you're like, okay, like you said, Morj, it might definitely vary in certain places, and like characters might not feel the same, at least like villains and something. But I think you just have to expect like, okay, the world is the same, the characters are the same, but like the story, how it unfolds and like how it's portrayed may definitely be its own thing in that little universe pocket.
100%.
Yeah. All right.
Harry Potter?
We could go with Harry Potter. Hold on, let me grab my books.
Yes.
Let me actually go to the bathroom real quick.
Oh, yeah, sure. Bathroom break. Let's do that. Ooh. It's just the two of us teching.
Okay. Oh, hi, Mr. Oh, you left. Okay.
Mrs. Morj left.
Yeah. For some reason, nice. my local bookstore did not have Half-Blood Prince, so I only have,
That's harsh. Is that the first 4?
This is 3, 4, 5, and 7.
Oh, nice.
And 1 and 2. I already have one. I put 1 and 2 down there. Yeah, I'm halfway through Azkaban. When we get to these two, it's probably gonna slow down a bit, but we'll see. I am a very I when I told people I was reading all the Harry Potter books, someone was like, I read the first 4 in a day. I'm like, well, good for you.
Good for you, yeah.
I can't do that, right? I'm a very leisurely reader. Like, when I have time, sometimes I read, like today I read like 4 chapters, other times I read 1, sometimes I read none. It's just whatever I have time to do.
I think that's already super nice.
But
like, yeah.
Yeah,
I
like-
envy you. Because
Why?
for the longest time, like I loved to read as a child. And then at some point, like, at like around when I went towards the end of high school, like starting university, I went a bit like, you get like other interests, and then I don't know, you like gaming a bit, you like going out and stuff, and then I kind of like stopped really reading a lot, like except for like maybe holidays or something.
Right. I
So it
mean,
was-
like,
yeah.
for me, I hadn't read a book like all the way through since high school, and then I started community college, then working at Dollar Tree, and then YouTube just gets more and more prominent in my life, and eventually got to the point where it's like I don't even know if I could read a book anymore. And what changed that? I was in a bookstore about last July. I have a friend who's an English teacher, and we saw this. This is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.
It's so good.
It's good, right? And she's an
love
English
it.
teacher, and she's like, "Oh, I love this book. It's like Harry Potter, but the magic makes sense." And I'm like, I bought it, and I'm looking at it, and like 600 pages, and no, 700 almost, and I'm like, this scares me. I don't know if I could do this, but I read the whole damn thing. Then I read the sequel, which is 1,000 pages,
And
I'm
then
like,
there's no third part for like the last 10 years or something.
I know. Come on, Patrick, let's get
I'm
this
like,
done.
oh, and
But-
then
Oh, you're talking about Patrick Rothfuss?
Yeah,
and, like,
because this
The
is the
Name of
book
the
that got
Wind.
this is the
It's
book
so
that got
good.
me
No,
back.
no. So I've been getting recommendations now because I mentioned that I'm trying to get back into reading
Dude,
fantasy.
I
books.
swear,
This
I-
is the book that got me back into reading.
Yeah.
Period. I would check it out. Yeah.
I got like I
don't know
read
if
through
you're
that
like
book.
me, but like anime and manga made me drop reading real books.
No,
for, like, a
no.
solid while.
Same thing with me for a long time. Yeah.
For me, it was
It's just like this is reading, but
Yeah.
easier. So
Yeah, pretty-
But I still love reading. It's just been a bit.
yeah. For me, it was more a mixture of things. Like it was like I was reading so much scientific stuff for university and shit, and I was like, well, I actually kind of like want to just watch something, or
What's your degree in, Ohara?
it's like management technology, like engineering
cool.
and business kind of. Yeah.
That sounds successful. I got mine in journalism.
It sounds
so we're all
well.
in, like,
it sounds successful, and like here I am doing the same thing as you. So
you're all right.
Ohara, do you like sci-fi because of
Um,
that, or no?
no, I'm more like the Lord of the Rings type of person,
I know, yeah, Tolkien.
Yeah. But yeah.
How come you haven't been able to answer Dritz's riddles in that
it's
case?
true.
They're all from.
They're
The
all
Hobbit.
from The Hobbit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was actually for me was actually something. So I started reading again like last year, like properly. Like I actually had to I was reading like in between here and then, like if I had a good book, but really scarcely. But like I actually had to sit down and make like a habit out of it, where I'm like, okay, like after I brush my teeth in the morning, I get like a cup of coffee, and I read 25 pages every day, and like that actually got me back in. Yeah. Like at the beginning, you really have to force yourself because you're just not used to it anymore. But then after time, it gets like real fun, and I started looking forward to reading it, and I was suddenly like going through books at a very fast pace. So that was really good. I can recommend that. So if anyone in the audience is struggling with like missing reading, because I think a lot of people are feeling that way, just like hanging out on Facebook and Twitter the entire day, like sit yourself down and like set yourself a page limit every day and just
There's a little bit of a forcing quality to it, but especially when you get a really good book, and if you connect with it, you'll do it. My goal for this year is like, all right, we're gonna do this. Like, I'm gonna read a bunch of new stuff and all these fantasy books that I've always wanted to read but I haven't. So I'm starting with Harry Potter, which is really accessible. Then I'm gonna move on to Tolkien. I have all of them down here.
Yeah.
I have.
What do you mean with all of them?
Boom.
Do you have the Silmarillion?
I do not have the Silmarillion. I hear that's a rather dry read. We'll work up to the freaking Silmarillion. All right.
Okay. Let's put it that way.
But we have the original
Yeah.
three. Okay.
the
and then The Hobbit.
Silmarillion is
yeah.
like the driest thing to read. But if you're as balls deep into Lord of the Rings as you are into One Piece, it's like the best thing ever.
Dude, Tolkien, I love him for a bunch of reasons, for him basically kickstarting modern fiction,
Yeah.
fantasy fiction. But like, yeah, he took I'm gonna make this whole background
Dude,
stuff for all of
it's
my world.
basically-
I'm like, yeah, it's like a data
it's
book.
a history
kind of.
book.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
literally a history book about his fantasy world.
And
It's
then I
hilarious.
also
No,
have
the story was an excuse to write about the world.
Yeah,
In
kind
a
of.
way, if that makes sense.
and then I have
like, his books
all of the
still
Game of
hold up.
Thrones books, which I'll read at some point, maybe after these.
Oh,
But
what
yeah,
books?
So
Sorry, what did you say?
I also have all the Game of Thrones books, which I meant to read at some point.
Yeah, you know what?
I've read 2 of them. I read the first 2,
Yeah.
and I think that they're very, they were really strong. But I was reading them. They were the first fantasy books I picked up in a long while. I used to be like a massive fantasy reader, but they were the first fantasy books I picked up for a while because the show was going on. The problem is, the show kind of kills the desire
Right?
to read
Exactly.
the books. If that
That's
makes
You know
sense.
exactly
what?
my point.
Because even though the books were really good, it's just like I'm getting the main beats, and I understand what the important beats are because I'm following the show. And after a point, I just dropped them. It was like, what's the point?
I felt the same thing with Harry Potter reading the first few books, because it's like the first two books are pretty short, so they pretty much adapt the entire book into the movies. And I haven't seen the movies in a while, but I've seen them plenty of times in my life. So I'm reading the first two Harry Potter books, and I'm like, okay, I know what happens here. I can just skip it, you know? And I didn't. I kept reading through. Now, as further you get in, they had to cut more and more stuff. Like, I hear there's a shit ton of Quidditch stuff in Order of the Phoenix and Goblet that they cut out of the movie.
It's not only Quidditch stuff. It's like there's like entire sections of the books.
Yeah.
just
I'm
missing.
noticing that a lot more in Azkaban.
Harry never wins the. Oh wait, I won't spoil it for you.
I don't care if you do, but you don't want to. You don't have to.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I won't say anything.
It's
more.
okay. It's okay.
I was really upset with the Azkaban. People say Azkaban's the best movie, but it missed certain things that I wasn't happy about. But
Well, the cinematography was
Harry
definitely
Potter,
superb, but they cut a lot of like
the what?
Well, the cinematography of the movie was just
Oh,
brilliant.
for sure.
But like
as a movie, it was better. Just the parts they chose to not adapt.
Content wise,
get
for
it.
sure.
It's a movie.
It's also what they did with certain characters, like Ron in the movies. It's like this. I think there's like 8 billion videos on YouTube how they fucked up certain characters in the movies. But Ron is definitely a big one, where he's like this derpy character in the movies, but then in the books he's actually kind of smart.
Time out. No. Ron Weasley, one of the worst characters in fiction of all time.
The worst keepers in
never
fiction.
gets a strong redeeming moment. Never is constantly
Really?
like just in the shadow of Harry and Hermione throughout the series. There's almost never anything that he's better. It was Wizard's Chess.
I don't
think
agree.
Well, what did he do?
Why?
I mean, you don't want to spoil it for me. It's fine.
No,
but
I
you
don't.
Go ahead. I really don't care.
I
I've
think
seen all
there's
the movies.
I think there's moments in every book where Ron is an important. Like without Ron in every book, I think there's a part where all of them would fail. Like there's always something he does. And I know what you mean.
I agree with that, but I never felt like I was being a little dismissive and just playing it off a little bit right there. But this is legitimately something that I wasn't happy with because Ron was actually. This might sound generic to say Harry Potter was my favorite character, but Ron was my second favorite character for all of the books, and I just kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. For Ron would have his moments throughout, but I was waiting and waiting and waiting for something that made Ron more valuable to the group than the others, if that makes sense. And I never felt like J.K. Rowling landed on that, and she could have easily done it, because the way I felt was that Harry was the main character, but he was a very average character in many aspects, but he was brave, and he did certain things that other people wouldn't do.
You mean an average character
but to
or an
give him a
average
sidekick
person?
but to give him a sidekick who didn't outshine him, she made Ron, who was aggressively below average.
Oh, you mean as a person or as a character?
As a person.
Okay.
I liked Ron's character, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But I was just waiting.
Yes, I agree with you.
So when I said the worst character, maybe the worst
especially since
he got the worst,
since he's what
do you call it?
Yeah, he's set up he's like the fourth Bill, Charlie, George, Fred, and then Percy.
Yeah.
He's like the fifth kid. So it's like, all right, he's a lot to live up to here. And it's just like, and he wanted to be head boy, and in the seventh book, he never, because shit goes down in the seventh book, but it's like, you can't do that. So it's like,
oh, he did, but did
he become head boy?
Not head boy, but he became a prefect.
No, he became a prefect.
He became a prefect,
but it was very heavily emphasized during that movie that it would have gone to Harry, but Harry would have had too much stress. Like Dumbledore was actually looking out for it. I was just waiting for when does Ron not get treated like shit, basically. And he has moments, but it's never a moment that he would have done that Harry wouldn't have
My
done.
friend...
If I look at One Piece and I look at, Usopp often has feelings of insecurity and inferiority, but then there are times that Oda shows that this is something that only Usopp could do. This is why Usopp is important to the group.
Literally, Perona would have devastated all of them if it wasn't for Usopp.
And I love Ron as a character, by the way. So... when I say worst, I mean as in he got the worst end of the stick for some reason. And I was just waiting for him to not get
my
that
one
reason.
friend Zach is he's read each of these books a dozen damn times. He's a Harry Potter genius. And I was talking to him about this one night, and he's just like, yeah, Ron is the crappiest keeper ever when he plays Quidditch. And it's like, man, that is because Harry's this brilliant, automatically amazing seeker, and they make Ron such a horrible keeper. I'm like, that's not...
Dude, but it feels good. No, but Ron does well as a keeper. Like, he has more of a struggle. Like,
Okay.
Harry's just, like, a genius at being a, Quidditch player or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ron has more of a struggle, which is cool to follow. But then at the end of the day, it's like... But he's not good at something that Harry's not good at, if that makes sense. Like, he has more of a struggle, and he ultimately succeeds as a keeper. But, like... That, like, why is the one thing that he's even sort of good at just the one thing that Harry's also just brilliant at, if that makes sense?
And I mean, in the first book, it's really kind of set up like Harry's just really just good at like things because he's Harry Potter, he's the main character and stuff, right?
I mean,
Harry's not even that good at that much stuff.
Well, the seeker thing, he's really naturally gets at, yeah.
I think we can all agree that Ron was obviously like the setup for his character arc was to be that person who always in his entire life had to first struggle with being the youngest son, with all his brothers being better at him or like, having already achieved what he could ever dream to achieve. And at the same time, like then he finds friends, but then his friend is like the famous Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So I really like the setup for his character arc. I agree with you, Morj. I think it's better. It's done better in the books, a lot better than in the movies. But even in the books, I agree that they could have done more to resolve his arc. I think his arc kind of resolves when he's the one saving Harry in the woods. And then kind of because...
I know the scene you're talking about.
I think that is supposed to be...
That was a good scene.
Yeah, it was a very good scene, and it helped definitely in partly solving his character arc. But I do agree with you definitely that the build-up could have been a little bit better, maybe, in a way.
And he gets Hermione, which is totally great for him.
Oh yeah, that's good for
way
anybody.
Better, in my opinion, than Harry getting with Hermione.
Yeah.
I think way, way, way better. Like Ron and Hermione had a great dynamic throughout that. Like one of the best dynamics I'd seen.
This is like
a romantic relationship.
I just finished reading a part of Azkaban today, actually, where I don't believe it was in the movie. At least I don't remember it being. Where they're in Snape's class, or Snape is teaching Defense Against the Dark Arts for like one day while Lupin is out.
Right.
And, Snape's doing his typical Snape shit where he's like, what's the answer to this question? And Hermione's answering, he's like, but he doesn't care, so he just always ignores it. And she finally speaks up and gives the answer. He's like, you quit trying to be a know-it-all, 5 points to Gryffindor. Ron stands up, he's like, why would you ask the question if you didn't want an answer, you idiot? And like, Snape lays into him for that, but...
yeah, exactly.
I like that scene there.
You know what? Ron is more outspoken. Ron is an outspoken character.
In the books,
I do like that about him. I forgot that.
In the books, in the books, he is like he's not stupid. Like he's brave. He says stuff. He often is also the person like who calls Harry out for his bullshit. When he's like in one of his tantrums.
Right. Yeah.
That is also something with Harry. Like in the movies, he's like the books are so heavily based on like Harry's like world of thought that the movies can't really catch. Like Daniel Radcliffe makes a good job of portraying the character in general, but like the film Harry is like very quiet, kind of like this introverted sad kid, while in the books like he's almost a bit erratic at times, right? Like getting angry and shit about everything.
Oh yeah.
Especially as he got older, he got kind of
going through his moody teenage years. 5.
Yeah.
We're starting to get into that with Azkaban right
but
here.
Yeah, with Azkaban, I think that's like when, like you said, it's like the first traces of like J.K. Rowling like kind of starting to foreshadow this romance. between Ron and Hermione.
Just going back to me remembering like watching the movies for the first time. Like the first two, I felt were more like whimsical fantasy movies. Because he's like 11.
Movies.
He's 11. He's 12, and then you get to Azkaban, and it's like, oh, okay, serial killer on the loose. This is getting a little bit more dark here. Yeah. And Harry, he's growing up a little bit more, so his acting improves and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, I love Daniel Radcliffe as an actor. I watched an interview with him a couple days ago. He's
cool.
He's a pretty cool dude. Yeah, I like him. Yeah.
Tekken, can I ask okay, I might have missed it earlier, but basically you've only seen the movies and are now catching up on the books?
So
or you read the books
full
a long
story
time
with
ago?
this is when I was in elementary school, they did these things called books on tape, kind of lost to the annals of history. But we listened. Yeah, I know. What is this tape of which you speak?
What is tape?
Yeah, Audible didn't. It was like Audible, okay. But anyway, yeah. So when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, we listened to all of the books up until Goblet of Fire on audio, and then didn't read any more. Saw all the movies at least probably like 3 times each. And then finally, this last year, last month, I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to read these damn books. I'm reading the damn books. And
actually,
so
audiobooks are really nice. Who's reading them? I forgot.
I just like to trying to get back into reading.
Oh, Stephen
I love
Fry.
audiobooks. Yeah, right. yeah. I love audiobooks, really, but yeah.
Here's
maybe I'll audio.
What I'll say for Harry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I'll audiobook the Silmarillion.
Oh yeah, that's good. like when cleaning the kitchen. It's just like
Yep. I'll pull that on.
In the year 1458 in April, this happens. It's like, okay, dope. The Numenorians went to the main. It's like, oh man.
Dude, what I'd say for Harry Potter at least is that and I think Harry Potter's almost underrated in terms of like what it accomplished or like what I think really makes it so special at least. And I think it's not the same in the movies as it is in the book. Because the movie kind of has to boil it down. The movies have to boil it down a little bit to like the interesting plot points. But like really what makes Harry Potter the books so nice to read is kind of how I saw somebody describe it like this. Like it feels like a very cozy read, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
like,
I love it. Yeah.
You just feel you get a very warm feeling reading about like just friends interacting in this sort of like magical school, if that makes
it's
sense.
fun
It does a really
exploring
good
the world.
And like
It does a really good job
but
of that.
It's not even exploring the world. It's just like Harry, Ron, and Hermione interacting in like the common room and stuff. Or, like, just people having like a fun student life. Basically, like it's like a slice of life manga, if you know what I mean.
It's like when people are.
It's a slice of life.
Oh, sorry.
But like also worked into like a really interesting story with like a lot of interesting mysteries and plot twists and stuff like that. That's what makes it so special in my mind. That's where it succeeded where a lot of other fantasies don't get mainstream appeal.
The best scene that exemplifies that for me was when I was reading the first book and they're at Christmas in the common room. And yeah, it's touched upon in the movie, but in the book, it's like this really warm feeling of like, this is literally the first happy moment Christmas that Harry has ever had in his life. And he's like, yeah, we just spent the day hanging out in the common room, drinking hot chocolate by the fire, just exchanging, having a good time. And it was the happiest day of my life.
Yeah,
and I mean, that makes it,
exchanging some cards or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like chocolate
and it
frogs
makes
or
it
something
so
like that.
charming, right? Because you would think like, I think, isn't that the charm of the first book, especially that you're kind of like, oh, well, the magical thing would have to be for this child to see like magic exists and there's this magical castle. But like what he really treasures is like these small moments of like love and friendship. I mean, it sounds cheesy, but it
does sound cheesy, but I think it's fine. It works perfect, you know? Yeah.
It's actually,
but that's what like,
sorry. Yeah. Just as a small comparison, since it's a One Piece podcast kind of.
Sorry.
No. I definitely want to keep talking about this, but like,
I'm saying to the people.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We warned them that we're gonna drift off in this podcast a bit more. But like, I think it's the same when people say, "Oh, I wish we had more scenes with the crew on the Sunny," because I feel like that's kind of the same thing where you're like, "Okay, we have all these adventures." I would like that, yeah. But like, we want these cozy moments where it's just like nothing happening, but we just see these characters like chilling and like relaxing and enjoying their success for a little while.
Yeah,
100%. And I think, by the way, One Piece does that, I think, better than any other shonen that I have read, and most other series that, like, at this point, I feel like I've read a fair amount of manga and anime, but, like, I think you can just look at the scene in One Piece, like, when Chopper joins the crew for the first time, and Chopper's kind of learning what the crew is like. Just that scene on the deck, part of it is Oda's got a great sense of humor and a great idea of what makes things charming, if that makes sense. And he's really good at very bouncy, quick, quirky character interactions and making them play off each other. But I think overall, like, One Piece has the best sort of slice of life moments in terms of a shonen series that I've seen. Period, and seinen series as well.
Yeah, I agree. I love that scene in After Drum Island when Chopper gets there. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, and that is, with Harry Potter, it's just like, I understand that there's people saying, oh, well, it has like this and that plot hole, and like there's so much better books.
That's the plot.
And it does. I mean, it does. Yeah. It's definitely like from a like world, like from a, if you want to be very feeble, there's definitely stories out there that are more wholesome and more let's say complete in itself when it comes to storytelling, but it's just the way it's presented that just, I mean, there's a reason why it was as successful as it is.
One that I was getting a lot of recommendations for was when I said I'm reading Harry Potter, like, why are you reading that? Read like something good like The Wheel of Time. And I'm like, I'll get to it. Yeah. But I want to read Harry Potter. I enjoy it.
It's very, like you said, I agree. I think that's a very good way to put it. It's very heartwarming. Just like, it's something I feel you can like what I like to do, like sometimes when I get sick, like that's just a chill, like the later parts, it's just a chill audiobook to listen to when you're like sick and you don't really want to focus on anything, but you know, like, you know, you want to hear something in the background. Like it's just nice. But then again, obviously you have like what you said earlier, like with the Name of the Wind, like that was a book.
Oh yeah.
That was just like, I cut through that book like butter when I read it. It's like, it's
What is that book?
The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.
Is that King Killer?
The King Killer Chronicles.
yes, it is.
That is Patrick.
It is,
And then Wise Man's Fear is the sequel.
it is insanely well written. Like
It is. I love Patrick Rothfuss. He does the magic really well, and he also just does the interaction between Kvoth and his companions at the university. They just chill out at the bar sometimes and just talk, and I just love it. You know?
Exactly. I don't know about you, Matt, but like for me, it's like the story is already great, but for me, it's like the words are fun to read. Actually, like the sentences he writes are fun to read. They're interesting.
I don't know about you, but I've cracked up laughing so many times reading this book.
For sure.
And I'm just like, I'll be reading it, and I'm like, oh shit, Kavoth said that. And I have to put the book down and be like, where's this gonna go?
You are also a very brave person for trying to pronounce, or for actually managing to pronouncing that name. I wouldn't dare.
I watched a video. Patrick Rothfuss actually made a video where he pronounces everything, and it took me forever. It's Kavoth, because he meant it to sound like quote. Kvoth. And it's like weird, but
it's
really
I went
weird.
With it. Yeah, it's like with Did any of you guys read The Wheel of Time yet? You didn't, Matt, right?
I haven't read it yet. No.
Okay, because there's also like the story is it's like also this ingenuous like giant universe, but like there's also a couple of names in there. And do you ever know like when you read a name on paper, you're not sure how to pronounce, and you just like whenever you come to that character, you read it like in silence in your head because you're not sure how to pronounce it.
Here's the thing, going back to Harry Potter, Hermione is not an English name, so the first time I saw her name was just like Hermione. How do you pronounce that?
Oh yeah, it's a really weird until you hear it
Hermione,
in the movie. I guess.
Yeah, that's when I first
get the idea.
I started listening. We started listening, I think, to the first book before I saw the first movie, but when it wasn't long after that I saw the first movie, and I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah.
Oh, that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, I'm actually not sure what kind of name that is, to be honest.
I don't know where it comes from.
Hermione.
I just thought it was a British thing.
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe. I don't think I've ever heard someone have that name before outside of Harry Potter.
Probably since the books have come out, people have named their children that.
Guess.
Yeah,
it's a memorable name.
It is. It's very memorable.
Yeah, it stands out.
Definitely.
Draco Malfoy. I'm like, oh. Yeah, he's probably gonna be a good guy.
I was about to say that. Like that is like
Lucius Malfoy. I'm like,
it's like, God. How am I gonna call my
ironically enough, ironically enough, Tom Riddle sounds perfectly average compared to Lucius Malfoy. I'm like,
it's like, oh, I'm Vicious Malfoy, and this is my son Dragon.
I am Severus Snape.
We're the good guys.
Although it's subverted later with Severus Snape, because you're like, oh, he's totally an evil guy, and then
there's actually, I mean, this will probably only target a very small part of the audience here, but there's actually a brilliant German YouTuber. She's called Cold Mirror, and like she's like one of these YouTubers who don't really try, but somehow are still successful. So she's done. Well, okay, it's maybe wrong to say she doesn't try because her videos are brilliant, but like she doesn't upload very regularly. It's just like every couple of months, and then but she like managed to build over the last 10 years. Like she's over 1 million subscribers, I think.
Crazy.
And she got really popular like 8 or 9 years ago, doing like kind of like trashy synchros of the movies, and
trashy what?
She made like funny like synchros of the movies, of the Harry Potter movies.
Okay.
So those were really
I don't know what that means.
Like synchronizations. Like she
like adding like dubbing stuff over?
Yeah, she spoke the characters herself and like made up shit basically.
I get you.
Oh, okay.
And so
I've seen a lot of those.
Yeah, and like two years ago she started doing like a series where she called it like 5 Minutes Harry Podcast, where she basically took the first Harry Potter movie and analyzed it like every 5 minute bits, like everything that she saw, and like she like looked up like weird facts about everything, and it's just I love the format, and I think it would, like, if that were English, it would definitely blow out even more. It's just an hilarious concept. So I think you would definitely enjoy that if you spoke German.
if I spoke German, yeah. Hey, I'm learning Japanese right now, and I hear after you learn another language, it's easier to learn another.
What are you studying with? Like this?
Let's pull out my books here.
Is it Mina no Nihongo?
Well, I got Japanese for Dummies here, but I also have Japanese Demystified, and just here's like just a kanji and kana book that I have.
Do you know Dogen, the YouTuber?
No.
Oh, you should. I'll send you a link later. Like,
thank you. Yes.
His skits are like he does basically skits surrounding Japanese language and like Japanese everyday life, and it's just brilliant.
But I'm working on that, and I also have a website that's helping me practice my kanji and memorize that.
If you want any, like,
Yeah.
I've been studying for like 3 years, 2.5 years now. So if you want any
Oh,
tips,
good.
I can definitely hook you up with some stuff.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah, I'll ask you about some stuff because this is obviously just
It's
like,
it's an uphill
when I
battle
have.
for sure.
Yeah, you're living in Japan. Yeah, this is just more casual, but yeah, I've been working on it
Spoiler,
for. I think
I'll
like,
bleep that.
I started.
Ignore whatever was just said.
I started March of last year, so yeah.
Okay.
How good are you now?
I'm not okay. I'm good when I talk about like I'm gonna break down what these kanji means in my videos. Actually, that's one of my favorite things to do now. Like Higurashi and Semimaru both mean locust or cicada. Like Higurashi is an evening cicada. Semimaru means locust or cicada. So that's the theme of their names. And I'm like, oh, all right.
It's really funny when you realize that, like, because like Japanese names sound so cool, but then at some point you realize it's basically just like, oh, you guys need last names, so like we'll call you Inside the Field and we'll call you the river at the mountain. It's like because you live
my
on the river next to the mountain.
My favorite is when Oda was he was doing in the Vivre cards. He was naming random background characters. There was a prisoner in Impel Down in the freezing hell. He was just a frozen statue. And the name, I mean, it's Japanese.
I remember this.
It's Japanese. It's just like, okay, it's a Japanese name, but it actually translates out to like, hey, I need a pocket heater. Give me a pocket warmer because he's frozen to death. I'm like,
and this is like a level 5 villain in Impel
he
Down.
does-
Yeah.
One of the
Oda
worst
actually
villains
does
in the
like a
world.
lot of like stuff where he like plays with names. Like he gives.
oh,
a
he
name.
loves puns.
Yeah.
He puts that in the bounties all the time. He loves puns. Yeah,
And, but
word
like
gags.
hardcore Japanese puns where it's like, okay, the
Yeah.
name actually exists, but he uses different kanji, so it doesn't make any sense or something.
Yeah, like Shanks's bounty literally is Shiyanku.
Yeah.
And Rogers is Rojia. I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
You're using the different
Wait, sorry, what?
Like the numbers kind of spell out
the
their
numbers.
names.
If you take like let me pull up. Well, Whitebeard's is really easy. Whitebeard's is 5,600,000,000, I think.
Yeah.
So, Shiro is. Wait, how did this go here?
No, it can't be 5.6.
No. What was Whitebeard's bounty? Hold on a second.
Roger's like 5.5.
Okay, let me just pull it up. Not Roger. Whitebeard. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm saying Whitebeard's
It's
gotta be
probably
lower.
something like 4.6. If
No, it's
Shiro-
it's 5 billion something.
Oh, okay.
Hold
if
on.
it's
Yeah, Whitebeard's is a 5.0 something. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. And then Roger's like a good amount higher.
Okay, no, yeah, here's this. Whitebeard's was 5,046,000,000. Okay, 4 could be Shi, and then 6 is Roku. So Shiro means white. Shirohige, Whitebeard. That's what Oda does. He like fits that kind of crap
stuff
in
like
there.
that.
It's like
I
numbers
mean-
mean yeah.
Like in general, like I always buy. I think I told you, right, that Morj, that I always buy like the real copies of the Japanese manga.
Yeah.
And it's like there is so much. I mean, I don't even pretend to get most of the puns that are in here, but you can definitely tell that you lose a lot of the funny stuff in One Piece when it's translated to English because there's just so much, like so many funny details in there that just work
You
in
have to
Japanese.
know how kanji and all that stuff works in order to make it make sense.
It's hilarious.
It's funny. But yeah, eventually I know like there's only so much you can get from books. Like in order to learn it, you'd have to like live in Japan or have someone that like my one friend. She has a tutor, so at least that's somebody to bounce the things off of. I'm just doing this on my own.
You can, for
here.
example, try what's it called, Italki, I think. Like they have like
That,
the
and
tutors.
even just like a lot of my fans have contacted me like, hey, if you need someone to help you with stuff,
Yeah,
like
that's
run
chill.
stuff, like I could do that. So yeah, I'll eventually get to that level at some point. But right now I'm okay, I guess.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, they're like with Japanese, it's like I think you never have the impression, I'm slowly running out of stuff to learn. Like you never get to that point.
Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff in Japanese that's not translatable in English, like the little like all those particles, like o, ga, ka, no, ni. That stuff just doesn't exist in English. I love wa though. I love the idea of like marking the topic of your sentence. Like mato wa hon yomu desu or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Wait, what do you mean? So you like change the subject based on what you're marking?
Yeah, basically what you do is like if the subject of the sentence involves me, I'll be like mato wa. So that means that it's like
Yeah,
I am the topic of the sentence kind
wa
of.
is like defining the subject. What the topic of the sentence.
So you just put that behind any subject.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it can be behind if I'm talking to you or if I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, well, it kind of depends what you want to put the emphasis on. So I can say
Yeah.
like Matt is eating bread, and if I say Mato wa pan o tabeteru, then it's like the topic is Matt. But if I want to put emphasis on the bread, then I say bread wa Matto ni tabeteru.
Yeah, or
So,
it's
Okay.
it's very interchangeable the way I've been reading. It's just like there's a bunch of different ways you can convey it in Japanese. Like either way you said that, people would understand what you meant. Whether you said like matawa or breadwa, panwa or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Japanese grammar is like an internal mystery sometimes.
And then verbs always get shoved at the end. And then verbs get shoved at the end.
Yeah. It's fun though. It's fun.
Yeah, I
for
like
sure.
it. Yeah, it's fun to piece it together. Once I do nail it, I'm like, I said a sentence, I'm good.
Yeah, and then of course there's the entire thing where like Japanese is like a pitch accented language,
Yeah.
whereas like English or German, for example, are like force accented. So like for example, like in English you would say, oh, it's like television. So you know the focus of the word is like how strong you say the first syllable. It's television,
Yeah.
not television, for example. In
Yeah.
Japanese you don't have that. It's like the height of the going
Can it
high
be?
and low with the pitch
Yeah.
to basically determine how a word is pronounced.
Wait, so it's how you literally say it?
Yeah.
not
So
how it's
it
spelled or
doesn't
anything?
have Japanese words they don't have force to them. Like you don't say konnichiwa or something like that. So it's just like it depends how high and low you go with stuff.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. It's like
It's-
it's an
yeah,
art.
it's-
It's an art
to me.
form.
Yeah.
Oh, which again, like going back to the Dogen guy, like he's like he even has like a Patreon courses on like pitch accent and everything. It's like it's crazy, like really impressive stuff. So shout outs to him, even though he probably
You
won't
said
watch
you
this.
did you just get to Japan like recently? Or
Yeah, I kind of I might keep it in the podcast, but I actually like plan on doing a vlog about it, like diversifying a bit. So I wanted to like make it a surprise, but I think I'll just keep it in. If people make it to this point, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like so I lived here before like 2 years ago for
Mm-hmm.
an internship I did 6 months. And I don't know, I just kind of felt like coming back, to be honest. I felt like I wasn't done with the country yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
And,
get you.
I only like I studied a bit before I went here the last time, and then I started while I was here, but I only properly started learning Japanese like after I kind of left, because then I was
Right.
like, oh, I know what I'm really missing. So then I just really started studying like seriously.
Yeah, I would love to go at some point. I've never been outside the country my
Dude,
entire life, so I
I'm
mean, I have to.
very-
I'm
I'm
wow.
happy
I'm
to
a
host you.
dork. I'm a weeb. I gotta visit. I gotta make the pilgrimage to Akihabara at some point in my life. Yeah.
Which
The
I mean,
pilgrimage
like
over
this
to
might be
Japan.
personal opinion. I'm personally not as flashed by Akihabara as I should be. There's definitely cooler
Yeah.
spots in Tokyo, but
Yeah.
it's still worth to go for sure.
I would. There's multiple places. I actually bought a Japan travel guide that
Nice.
I've been looking through, and I would love to visit those.
Let me know.
places, so
I'll host you
someday.
for sure.
Someday. All right. You want to do questions?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Do you have one picked, Morj, already? Because I didn't check.
I have. Let me pull it.
Oh, we can do the one question because that was funny. Wait, which was it? Can we get a 2v2 of you and Joey Boy against Morj and Dritz?
I'll be the referee.
No, that's the answer. I don't want to do that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'll never side with Dritz,
Oh.
even if I agree with it.
Like a
Oh.
One Piece theory battle, or like we're doing MMA shit here, or like.
Oh yeah, I'd be up for fighting.
Oh,
I'd be up for
MMA? Straight
fighting.
MMA?
Let's do it.
No, Ohara studies like MMA or jujitsu or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't.
No,
so
I think
I'm not
the fact
interested.
was rather that Dritz and Morj didn't like the chapter, and I think JB and I did. That's what I take from this. I actually don't know what JB's thoughts on the chapter were, but that's what I take from this question.
I think Joy Boy is generally very positive towards a lot of
Right.
chapters, at least from what I've seen. So either positive or interested. So no matter what, he's coming away with some sort of fun speculation or something like that.
healthy
So
approach.
I think as long as he's got something to like make a cool theory about, he's happy.
Yeah.
I think one thing that popped up a lot was the thing with Toki. Like, the people
Yeah.
were a bit confused why she was smirking. Do you guys have any takes on that?
I listed like 4 different reasons for that. Like number 1, she's the traitor. Number 2 was like
Toki's the traitor.
Oh yeah, number 2 was like,
Momo was the
okay,
traitor.
Odin.
Wow.
She's really confident in Odin. She knows her husband, so maybe that's why she's just like, you know what? There's no use in worrying about it. I'm just going to relax with my children and protect them and keep a strong attitude for them, and that's the reason. Now this is getting way into theory territory, but we know she could travel to the future. Can she see into the future first?
Yeah.
That's a big thing. And so it's like she saw the future. So it's like a Doctor Strange thing where she's like, I know this has to happen the way it's going to happen. So it's whatever. I'm not going to be surprised.
I saw one. We have a 1 in 4 million chance. What is it? 40 million? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was like
It was some ridiculous number.
Yeah,
could have been 50 million. It wouldn't.
it
Really
was
make
like,
a
you know,
difference,
it was
would
like, how many futures did you see? Like 14,902,000. And it's like, how many do we win? One.
One.
Like, oh
Yeah.
crap. We're dead then,
like,
pretty much.
That's not.
If he'd said like, oh, a solid 60%.
But I mean,
then,
yeah,
like,
that
oh,
would've
like
been
the
like
thing
that.
is, when you know that one future, it kind of doesn't matter if it was 5 to 1 or 15 billion to 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, honestly,
The
when I
number
saw
could have been
Infinity War and he did that, I'm like, oh, he's gonna say like we win like 20%. I'm like, he's
Yeah.
like 1. I'm like, are you really?
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
you're all dead then. Okay.
Exactly.
It would have been really bad if it was the other way. Like, how many do we win? Like, oh, solid like 95%. Oh, I hope we don't fuck this
Hope we
up.
don't screw it up.
Oh, jeez, we lost.
Thor
Such
trips
good odds.
Thor trips on a tree stump and just boom, just plants on the, and then Thanos just, oh, that was easy.
I was just looking through, like, just quickly getting off topic because I was just checking because like there's
Yeah.
always like Easter eggs under the covers of the manga.
Yeah, with like
Did you
Panda
guys?
Man.
It's always Panda Man. Oh, like this
Yeah,
one
yeah.
is Shanks. It's like Panda Man.
Yeah, I saw that on like the Reddit. Actually, someone shared that on the Reddit.
I just okay. I didn't catch that. But
What's
it's
even
actually
fun?
hilarious.
But I'll tell you what is funny. There were people on the Reddit that didn't know Oda did that, so they're like, "What is Oda saying? Is he saying that Shanks is actually Panda Man?" And it's like, "Is it going to be revealed that like Panda Man's a real character?" And he's gonna like, it's like,
No,
well,
it's in literally every single
It
manga
is. Yeah, like
cover.
people were pointing that out to him, and I'm like, "That's funny though. You actually thought
It
Shanks
is.
was going to turn out to be Panda Man." That's funny.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, because like, oh yeah,
Dude,
yeah, under the mask.
How funny would it be though for them to get to like Laugh Tale and
And it's
Panda
Panda
Man
Man.
finally appears and he's like, I've been watching you on your journey for quite some time now.
Panda Man is
Yeah.
Joy Boy. That would be hilarious.
Panda Man, if Im takes off his mask at the end of the
It's-
series and we realize that it was just
No,
Panda
Shanks takes off the mask and it's Panda Man.
Man. Shanks is the face.
Oh, maybe
He's like,
Beppo.
I am like
Beppo
this
is Joy Boy.
multiple. I'm like a multiple deity. I can exist in multiple places at once in
Exactly.
different time periods, and I'm there. I'm always watching you. You know,
It's just Kaguya, but with a panda mask.
pretty much. I love Panda Man.
Pan D Man.
Pan D Man,
Pan-
Buggy D Clown.
Pandy Man. Oh man. Yeah.
Alright.
Oh, dude, Buggy's also like one of these things. Like, I'm kind of sure at this point, like especially with how much we've seen him in the flashback, that he's gonna play some important role. Like,
I'm getting an image of Buggy teaming up with Shanks like old time.
Yeah,
Like they finally,
yeah,
he
yeah.
finally buries the hatchet and they finally fight together. Like that'd be cool.
that'd be so dope.
I'm sure
Yeah.
Buggy would be a huge contribution.
I-
if he
Yes,
ever battled it.
yes, he would.
I definitely think that Buggy's gonna be there when Luffy and Shanks meet up at some point.
I think it's very logical.
pretty cool.
I think it's very logical, at least like right now, since Buggy is being chased after by a bunch of like Marines, right?
Yeah, I mean,
he's like,
yeah.
crap. I
And
need.
he's the only warlord who's definitely not prepared to like handle this.
Yeah, he's really not.
like
Although,
Mihawk's chilling, Hancock's chilling, Weevil's probably gonna be okay.
yeah,
And then Buggy's just like,
I
didn't
need
sign
to. There's only one person in the new world that I could go to that would actually be able to handle all these Marines, and that would be Shanks. And you know, so we'll see.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny, yeah. I mean, in general, I thought it was very curious timing that Oda, like, he kind of unleashed the warlords now. You know, like he introduced some of them into the story to help the Straw Hats here and then he
Yeah.
kind of like he kind of collected them together and was like, okay, the Straw Hats have to do their own thing now. And now that we're getting into more serious business again, it's like, oh, I'm gonna unleash the warlords, and then
oh, go ahead.
oh yeah, and then there might be like a Mihawk popping up here or a Hancock popping up there. Sorry, Matt.
I'm glad he did that though, honestly, because it's like most of the ones. I mean, already the warlords, there weren't very many left. Kuma's basically an unthinking robot at this point. Mihawk
Yeah.
and Boa were both in paradise. Weevil was the only warlord in the new world and Buggy as well, that were like doing stuff. But I'm glad Oda's finally getting back to them. It's like, okay, they can go wherever they want now and do whatever they want. And they're being on the run from the Marines, so we'll see
Oh,
where
yeah,
that
yeah.
includes. Yeah.
Yes, which makes it way more interesting.
Oh god,
like
yeah.
up till now, we wouldn't expect Hancock to just pop up wherever. But
Yeah, now it makes more sense.
Did you watch Stampede, man?
The what?
I haven't
The
seen
Stampede movie?
Still.
No.
Okay.
Oh, Stampede. Yeah. I've seen
Oh, yeah.
Stampede. Yeah, sorry.
I was like, I'm
I
surprised by that. You didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw it in there was the closest theater that aired it was like 2 hours from my house, so I drove
yeah.
all out there to see it. But I think it was worth it. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. Yes.
But like,
Bullet wasn't the greatest villain, but it's alright.
No, it wasn't. It was a lot of fan service in there. But what I thought was interesting was seeing Hancock fight because she.
Oh god,
she
yeah.
was badass.
Hancock like kicked
that
a
movie.
mountain
Yeah,
basically.
but okay,
It was
time out.
insane.
I was actually annoyed because Stampede's not canon.
No.
But I know that after Stampede, people started saying that Boa Hancock is like much stronger than their opinion was of her before. I'm like, you guys know this was like a non-canon
Yeah.
movie, right? Like none of that
Yeah.
counts. Like this doesn't affect. This shouldn't affect
But it was,
the perception.
but it was
of Boa
dope.
Hancock.
Like seeing her fight. Like it was just like
I-
in the movie, you know.
Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea what level of input Oda had because he always does character designs. He does that. But I don't know if they like went to Oda and like, hey, we want Boa Hancock to basically kick a giant kaiju apart. Like, yeah, that's all right. I'm gonna do something with that, you know. Or if it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, screw it, we're just gonna make her kick a giant mountain apart and see what happens there.
Yeah.
All right, I don't know, but I feel like people just
Oh,
suddenly
yeah.
got on the Boa Hancock train after that movie. I'm like, this doesn't
No.
count. This isn't real.
We'll see. We'll see
doesn't-
when
yeah.
Boa jumps off of the island and kicks a warship apart.
Right.
You'll
And you
see
know it's real.
Morj.
Then you know shit is real. I mean, in general, like, that was also something that would be actually interesting to hear your opinion on, Matt, because like we
Yeah.
talked about this a bunch. But it's actually like for me personally, it kind of sucked that like, or it still sucks kind of that Oda and like especially his editors tried to like hype so much shit up by also like giving like these minor spoilers. It's like, oh yeah, in Wano you'll find out about the Void Century, or like, oh yeah, like the Laugh Tale thing in the movie. Like for me, I see why they would do this, but for me personally, it takes away a lot from the story. Because it builds exactly these expectations like you
Yes.
had with the flashback or with Odin, and then in the end, you know, if it's
I
not
have
exactly the same.
I have a really high tolerance for spoilers. I'm just weird like that. But yeah, I can see what they're doing. I mean, much of it is like press, like, you know, hey, Stampede's coming out. You need to talk about certain things. It's like,
Yeah.
all right. But
You
it doesn't
know.
really bother me too much.
Yeah, like the 5 years
I
thing.
feel like he didn't need to do that as much before the like I don't remember him doing that while Dressrosa was going on or Zoe was happening or
he
like
was definitely
I
hyping up
prefer it when he
Wano,
lets the story
but
Oh,
not,
God, yeah,
not as
Wano's been-
extremely
yeah.
as he would do
Yeah.
like the Oda,
Yeah.
like the this or well now it's last year, but like last year was pretty extreme in terms of marketing. I feel with the new editor.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I always forget about the editors that are always coming out, and because like every few years they switch out. Yeah,
yeah, they rotate kind of.
yeah.
I'm surprised by that too. I still don't understand why that system exists.
I-
Because if you've
yeah.
got a good thing going, just keep it
I
up,
have
right?
no idea how it works. It's like the previous editor becomes this other job, and then it's like a library of Ohara actually did a whole cycle. Like there was like he mapped it out how it worked, but yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me unless one editor job, like the secondary one, wherever
Yeah.
you become like in charge of merchandising and marketing and stuff.
Mhm.
If that one's like a higher paying, better position, then I guess it makes sense in that it's like a promotional hierarchy.
Can you imagine
But
like
that hurts the story though if you're swapping editors.
yeah,
all
and
the time,
imagine
so-
like okay, you get a new editor, like hey, you're editing for Eiichiro Oda, and it's like, oh god, it's like because this is a super popular manga. Like, where are you to say like, hey Oda, I don't think you should use this character instead of this like. Giving him feedback would be really stressful. It's either you would give him not enough or too much. It's like if you're just switching out editors.
I mean, you
Yeah.
know, like Japanese working culture is also like one.
Oh
of these
god,
things.
it's overkill over there. It really is. Yeah, Oda gets like less than like a few hours of sleep a night. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. But he puts a lot of that on himself, I think. To
Yeah,
be
well,
fair. Like,
yeah,
he
yeah.
doesn't let assistants help as much with drawing. And as much as I like Oda drawing stuff, I'm never like, your art is not the main reason that I read this
It's
series. if that
good,
makes,
but it's
like-
not the best. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it has a lot of character. But it's character that could be replicated by other artists that you train.
I've
if that
read
makes
my
sense.
fair share of One Piece doujins over the years, and let me tell you, most of them are kind of off kilter, but there's been some that have really nailed it. Let me tell you. But no, he has like two assistants that only draw backgrounds, and that's like it. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, honestly, if I was him and I really like, he has said before that I think his favorite part is drawing like a really exciting panel or something like that.
Yeah.
And I wish, if I could magically change his mentality to be something like, let somebody else draw literally everything, and you focus on the crazy story that you've written, the characters and stuff, like all that stuff that we really, really value you for, that only you can do.
Yeah.
If he could do that, then I don't know. I think everything would be a lot nicer. But his favorite part is the drawing. So
that's what he
really
rolls with.
that.
Hey, it's worked for 20-something years, so I guess it's probably not going to change
sure.
anytime. Yeah. It's just what we're going to go with, right?
No.
Yeah, that's how he does things.
But I mean, imagine One Piece with no breaks every 4th week or whatever.
Yeah, there are copious breaks, but hey, it gets you pumped, I guess. That's one thing to say.
It does. Dude, with the breaks, though, like, I guess it depends. Like, if you are taking a break at a point where people weren't that happy. So, for example, 970. 970, I think, didn't have the most widespread positive reaction. When you hit a break then, that usually feels a little worse. Whereas if you hit a break after, like, a really hype chapter.
Oh.
So it cuts both ways.
Dude, I remember the break we had. It was a month-long break in between the time skip, and it was like...
I know what you're talking about.
Whoa, man. I was in high school when that was going down, and I'm like, every day on the bus, I'm like, just like, come on, is this going to finally come back?
Exactly.
I was like so excited when it finally came back. Yeah.
I think I was in 9th or 10th grade at the time.
I was a senior.
And I had this fantasy in my head that was like...
fantasy.
Oda must be working on a bunch of chapters during this break, and he's just gonna drop them all back to back or something like that. 'Cause I'm like, there's no way he can't leave us like that.
No.
He can't leave us like at the end of Marineford like that. So,
But okay, yeah.
Do you wanna?
all right, a couple
Yeah.
more questions or
Yeah.
something,
You
and
wanna-
then call it. It is a little late.
Yeah, I just noticed it's like 1 a.m. where I'm at right now. This has been
Yeah.
fun, though. I like
Same
this.
time
Yeah.
zone.
Where do you live at, Morj? Or you don't have to tell me your exact location, your house address, and what room you live in.
I'll say I'm in the Eastern Coast.
the Eastern
and then I
Coast.
can tell you
Leave it at
afterwards.
that, right?
I saw, one of my viewers saw me at a Chipotle and then immediately commented on one of my
Of
videos
course.
saying that they'd seen me at a Chipotle, and then I got really weirded out and I didn't
What?
respond.
Yeah.
What
But,
is?
maybe they're
what
watching
is
this,
a Chipotle?
basically.
I don't know what.
It's
it
a
is.
it's a restaurant. It's good. It's all right.
Oh, wow. They don't have that in Germany?
They don't have that in Europe, I think. Like, okay, call me out. Maybe they have.
Really?
But like, I definitely never seen one. What do they do?
Okay, that's
Wow.
fine.
Okay,
I mean,
for
there's
us, for
places,
reference,
yeah.
it's like McDonald's practically in terms of popularity here.
What?
I
Really?
would say. Close to.
How
Yeah,
come-
I don't know
I
if
mean,
Tekken
I don't.
would
Well,
agree.
there's only one in the air. I live way out in the country. There's like one. There's like one.
You know what? Then maybe it's the areas that are close to
There
me, I
is
suppose.
one
is very popular
Chipotle
where
that's
I'm at.
like 45 minutes from my house.
What
I
do
hear
they
people
make?
talk about it, but not like crazy, you know. I've never had White Castle or Waffle House, and I've kind of heard good things
Same.
about those places. Yeah.
Wait, what do they make? Is it like fast food or?
White Castle is little mini hamburgers. Waffle House, I think, is
White House and
self-explanatory.
Waffle House I know, but I don't know Chipotle.
Oh, okay. Chipotle is like you describe it more as you would be better at. I've only eaten there once, you know.
Chipotle, I mean Ohara Chipotle, I don't know, it might expand rapidly. I personally feel like it's one of
Is it
those things
newer?
that can expand rapidly because it already feels really prominent everywhere that I go. It's Mexican food.
Yeah.
But it's this perfect balance between it's not fast, it's like higher end fast food.
Yeah.
So it's not like McDonald's, but it's this weird
It's sort of like
it's fast food
it's sort
that's
of like
good enough that
Subway.
you don't feel like you're eating bad food.
Yeah.
You're eating fresh ingredients.
It's sort of
and
like
stuff, and it's
Subway,
made
the
for
way
a
they
good-
do it, where you walk in and you have to they make you a bowl, and it's like, what kind of rice do you
Oh.
want? What kind of meat do you want? What kind of cheese do you want? And they give you the bowl and just, okay, here you go. I'm like, all right.
Is
It
that
was
like?
good. I liked
Is that
it,
like?
yeah.
But it's higher end
Wait,
than
how
Subway,
how
for
is it called
example.
Chipotle?
Chipotle.
Oh, because it sounds like there's like this thing called like It's like Pokeball or something.
Do
you know that? It's like
Yeah,
they
I
have,
know what
like
you're talking.
these-
Pokey. You're saying Pokey space.
Yeah,
bowl,
it's like a
right?
bowl, and it's like like with a
Do I know what
and everything.
Pokeballs are? Yes, I do.
Oh, do you wanna see my Pokeballs?
I also have a GS ball inside of the Pokeball.
Ooh.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, I liked it. The one
No,
time I ate
Chipotle is
there,
really
it was
good.
delicious.
Ohara, if you ever come to the United States, you should
Yeah,
try
for
Chipotle.
sure, for sure.
If you're
Yeah,
Sounds good.
and I'm sure there's like German places that we've probably never heard of. So yeah.
I'm not so sure.
I'm sure a million German places that we haven't
I'm
heard
not so
of.
sure. Yeah, maybe.
No?
Yeah, when it comes to
Probably.
like franchises and stuff, I'm sure you have McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all that stuff.
Yeah. Actually, Wendy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to Wendy's, but I'm not sure if we have them in Germany, to be honest.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
good. I
it's
actually
not
had,
a
I had
must
Wendy's
eat,
last night.
to be
Actually, it was pretty good.
honest.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
It's
for sure.
fast food. It's whatever, you know.
Yeah.
As far as fast food goes, yeah. Quick question. Hold up. Let me pick one.
Go for it.
Shoot. I closed the thing. Somebody else can pick one. I feel like let's close on 2 more questions.
Sure, let's roll with that. Yeah.
We already did one, so.
Yeah. Oh, do you have
Okay.
I just had a Panda Express experience for the first time in my life last week. It was all right.
Oh, really? The first time?
First time, yeah. It's good. It's like fast food Japanese food. Oh,
Nice.
Chinese, but it was good. Yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
Japanese. Yeah, it's Japanese. I'm tired.
That's fine.
Oh, Ohara, how are you liking the Japanese food so far, by the way?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Which, you like sushi?
Well, like,
you like...
Anything really.
Anything.
I did have
Karage.
Oh, that's actually really good. Yeah, I mean
I love
everything.
karage.
I like the fact that like even if you get something like fast, you can still get something not that doesn't completely like ruins your body, kind of, you know.
Yeah, not like over here.
Yeah, oh yeah. I was in Philadelphia a couple months ago, and we went to this really nice Fujiyama. We went to this really nice Japanese restaurant, and they
I've heard of
had
that.
sweet potato fries on the menu, and I thought they were just going to give us like sweet potato fries, like French fries.
No.
They were like tempura sweet potato fries.
Ooh.
So freaking good.
That's
like
really interesting.
amazing, incredible.
Yeah, though it's definitely interesting. Like when you get here, it's definitely you can tell that there's like Japanese cuisine, and then there's
Oh, yeah.
westernized Japanese cuisine. For sure.
Yeah, I
It's
can
like when
imagine
you,
it would be mixed.
It's like when
yeah.
you ask, in Japan, when you ask like for a California roll, they'll just like look at you and be like, "What?"
What? Yeah. But I'm sure it's delicious.
Wait, so like a
yeah.
Philadelphia roll's not a thing over there? That's
No.
my favorite roll. No? Okay.
Did they have
Great.
egg rolls, right?
I don't know what I would order.
I
if
mean,
did.
they have so much stuff that like you didn't even know exist here. It's
I
like
mean, a
crazy.
big chunk of it, like especially, are you in Tokyo?
Yeah.
A big chunk of it, I would imagine, would be tourists, and they have a certain standard. It's like we're tourists, and we want this, what we think is Japanese food, but is there a segment of that?
I
I
don't think so. I think like they're
Right.
like the Japanese are like very like like traditional
Old
about
school,
their own
traditional,
thing. Like
yeah.
they
Well, I
love
figured that, yeah.
yeah, they love to take anything in. Like you have like all the other fast food chains here. Like you have Wendy's here and like McDonald's, Burger King, of course. But like when it's about their own food, they're kind of like you kind of have to.
Where it's our food. You're
Yeah.
not gonna get like a westernized,
Yeah.
bastardized version of this. You're just
And I
gonna
mean,
get
it's
actual
it's
Japanese
good.
food.
I mean,
yeah.
so you can't
I
argue
can
with that.
imagine.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
But yeah.
Also,
So question.
Oh yeah, question.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I was just looking one up. So a lot of them are the same. A lot of them are asking about Toki and her smile, but I
Yeah.
think we already talked about that a little
Yeah.
bit. One that I saw that's interesting actually, is, and I haven't seen this come up yet. So the hag turned into Momo's face, right?
Yeah.
She turned into Momo.
Yeah.
But she had to have touched Momo to have turned into.
Yes.
So it's basically saying any guesses on who she turned into to touch Momo's face,
Ooh.
and it might be a clue on.
Oh,
who the
you know
traitor
what?
is,
When I
says
read
this
the
person.
spoilers, that's something I wanted to touch upon. It's just one of those things that I forgot about during the review. But yeah, she would have
It's easy to forget
Yeah.
that she can't turn into anyone.
But she can't turn
just
into
like that.
Odin.
She can turn to Odin. We've seen that before.
Yeah,
Yeah. So she could have just done that.
would have been my guess.
Yeah. Could
True.
yeah, honestly, I can think of a real, because it's been 5 years since Odin returned. It could have been like Odin was out dancing and the hag turned into Odin, went back home and touched Momo and then left and then, whatever.
That sounds so wrong.
Oh God, it does. Okay, all right, yeah. God, all right. So, no pedo, but
Momo's had a hard life.
Hard pass.
yeah, it's just like she just walked over, touched Momo, and left.
Okay.
Okay.
One Piece
That
One
was
Piece got way
Kurozumi's
darker.
deep scheme.
I will say that a lot of times whenever Oda introduces a child, it's usually an 8-year-old kid. It's
Yeah.
like a standard. Like Tama's 8,
that
Momo's
true?
8. Yeah.
I think they just might be, I don't know, to keep them the same
Yeah,
age.
so
or
you can
something.
Yeah,
remember
just
it.
keep it normal. Yeah. But anyway.
All right.
Oh man,
There's no more good
Nothing.
questions.
That was it. All right.
Literally.
So that was a great way to end that question segment.
I love it. That's the perfect way to end the podcast.
Old woman transforms and touches
All right.
a kid. All right, cool. All right.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, it had to happen at some point.
there's like
That's canon.
there's like this one pervy guy in the comments who's like, I never looked at it that way. That's actually a great way to look at it.
My God. Oh God. But anyway.
Okay, well, it was definitely a pleasure having you on. Thanks so much.
It was great. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're
Yeah, thanks
always
so much,
always
dude.
welcome to come back.
Yeah.
Obviously, I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, make sure to check all of us out on Twitter. Matt's channel, obviously, in case you don't know him, will be linked in the channel in the description below. He has a very...
He's an up-and-coming YouTuber.
He's an
Try and support him.
Basically, yeah.
He's not well known.
Yeah.
He needs all the support he can get.
I'm getting there. I
he
feel
needs
like
support.
I'll get there at some
he
point.
needs our
Yeah.
support. So definitely check him out. No, links are in the description below. As always, big thank you to Revujo for the great thumbnail for the podcast. Shout out to
Revujo.
Thanks a lot,
Revujo.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
He's the man.
Good job.
And I think otherwise, yeah. I hope you guys have a great week, and that's it. Bye.
Later, guys.
See you.